Hey everybody, you know the drill. This episode will have spoilers, coarse language, JoJo memes, extra JoJo memes, references to JoJo memes, JoJo spoilers, and JoJo spoilers sometimes out of order in which we say them. So this is just a general warning that we will be spoiling JoJo part 1 to 4 throughout this, and we will try to keep the part 5 spoilers until the end. But we will also be talking a bit about part 5 manga. So I will put up a warning, and yeah, you'll see. Please enjoy. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Our Anime Podcast. Today, we are talking about the memest series of all time, JoJo. Yes, it's a JoJo reference. In fact, it's just an entire podcast talking about JoJo. So today...
It barely even counts as a reference at that point.
Yeah, it's not a reference. It's just the content. The content is just JoJo.
It references itself. It's self-referential.
Self-referential.
That's the new level. So, I'm joined with the JoJo squad. We got Sinris.
Hello, everybody. How you doing today?
And then we have our super duper special guest, Smurf JoJo Rock Rover.
Hey, baby!
That's what you meant. I didn't know what that meant.
Surprisingly
same. And Nazrim, whose name I can't use with the JoJo pun.
Yeah, it's hard. But hello, how are you?
No-No's Bizarre Adventure. It's not that.
Oh, I guess that works. Yeah.
Ooh, No-No's Bizarre Adventure works. I can't think of a good Sinris one.
Yeah, I don't think there's one for me.
Sinris Diamond. Almost.
Sinris War.
Anyway.
I don't know.
Almost. But, yeah, it's something. I tried. So, anyway, back to Shaw's Bizarre Adventures. We are back to talk about JoJo, and this means we're talking about essentially almost all of JoJo. But at least for this podcast specifically, I think we're going to talk about the first 4 parts in the anime, and then we're going to have some speculations for part 5, because hopefully by the time this podcast is released, part 5 will have just been premiered in Japan. Everyone will be watching it. We'll all be memeing and having fun. And then at the end of the podcast, we're going to go into part 5 manga spoilers. So if you're an anime only, we'll give you fair warning, but stop listening right about then. But anyway, starting to talk about our intros to JoJo. I feel like JoJo is a series that's always been around, but you either know about it because you've heard references, or you know about it because you're deep into the JoJo lore. So I guess I'll start with you, Smurf.
Lore.
JoJo is your favorite series.
The lore of JoJo.
So
Yep.
Yeah. So do you have a special history with it, so to speak?
Well, I guess. When I first heard about JoJo on our anime, I thought it sounded stupid. I was like, I don't want to watch that. That looks dumb. I knew a guy in JoJo in high school. Didn't really like him. It sounds... the word bizarre kind of just turned me off. And I saw that picture of Dio, the meme, it was me, Dio. And I thought, because the sky was red, I was like, they must be in hell. And he seems like he's just kind of annoying. He just pops up all the time, saying it was him and runs off, twirling his mustache. So I was like, I don't like that. That sounds dumb. I don't want to watch that. And then my friend texted me and was like, hey, have you seen JoJo? And I was like, no, it looked dumb. And he sent me a clip of Joseph's grenade against Straits in part 2. And I was like, that's the best thing ever. I'm going to watch this right now. So I tried alternating between JoJo and Nichijou. I called that Nichijou. And I was alternating episodes. And that lasted until I finished part 1. And then I didn't go back to Nichijou until I was done with part 3.
Okay.
Which is a stretch of 60 episodes?
Well, at that point, only the first half of part 3 had aired. So I put it on hold for, I guess that would have been 17 plus...
So 40 episodes.
41 episodes, I think. I was like, Nichijou can wait. I gotta watch JoJo. I gotta see what happens.
So Nichijou is low-key part 4 of JoJo. You have to watch it after part 3.
That's the official watch order.
Okay.
Well, maybe I should get to watching Nichijou.
Those poor Japanese that were reading it weekly had no idea. They missed so much.
They didn't know they had to get to the principal.
You have to wait. So you finish part 3. You wait 20 years for the Nichijou manga to come out. Then you go back for part 4.
That's how you do it.
Did you pick up the manga immediately after finishing part 3?
Yeah, I did. I started reading the manga immediately after and caught up.
Nice.
So,
Nice. That's pretty cool. And I feel like your JoJo influence is special because I started watching it in your rewatch.
Yep.
Like, how many years ago was that?
Two.
Two
It
or
was
3 years?
early 2017.
2? Okay, so
Early
yeah, I started
early
watching it
2016,
with
sorry.
that. Yeah, so yeah, it feels like it's been a while, but I started watching it as part of that. So that was kind of like a normal introduction to the series, but so that was pretty special. But how about Naz, you really like part 4 as we discussed
yeah.
like 5 minutes ago. What is your JoJo history?
I mean, I guess like for me, it's more like my whole like anime history because like I was like always spending time and shit on like Reddit and looking at memes, and obviously JoJo came up a lot in high school, and then like but I hadn't watched anime at that point, so I was like, I don't know if I want to get into this right now, and then like my one friend, one day we were studying for finals, and like this was senior year, and senioritis hit me like a meteorite, and that meteorite came in the form of him, like while we were studying, he was like, hey, this thing called One Punch Man's like, its last episode is airing tomorrow, so do you want to like watch this right now? And I was like, sure, and he showed me like the first 2 episodes, and then the next day I went back and finished the rest of the show, which like just a very quick downward spiral from there, just watching stuff like every week. And then I was like, all right, I guess I can finally get to JoJo. And then like from there, like I got through part 1, and I was like, I saw like the Dio meme, and I was like, all right, but I don't get like I don't totally get it, but like there was also like this weird like charm that it had, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I got to part 2, and I was like, all right, this shit is mint. And then I pretty much, so this is like still like the fastest I've ever binged like anything. Like the day that I finished part 2, I like watched like episodes 26 and 27 or whatever the last 2 episodes are.
25
part
and
2,
26, yeah.
25 and 26, yeah. And then literally immediately after that, I watched all of part 3. Like that's like one of my biggest regrets, but also one of the greatest things I've ever done. And then yeah, I knew that part 4 was going to be airing, so I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and like reread all this stuff and then read up to part 4, and then part 4 ended up being like my favorite piece of fiction ever. Not that I read that much, reading's actually a myth, look it up kids, but yeah, it just became that, and then JoJo's been with me for a while now. I still haven't caught up to part 8 though, which is a betrayal on my part.
Today's chapter,
But
part 8 was pretty wild. I gotta be honest. But that's I can't go to that. Also, I'm a little disappointed that you said it hit you like a meteorite and not that it hit you like planet waves. I'm a little disappointed in you.
I'm still like, I'd have to look up which stand that is. God damn it.
I'll give you.
Planet
Okay.
waves is the meteorite.
Yeah, I'll give you a hint. Yeah, it's a meteor stand.
Damn it. There's too many. There's too many
It's
standards.
from part 6.
Holy
Come
shit.
on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay. Wow, so many. Only part 6.
Well,
Okay.
It's only in part 6. It didn't show up again.
That's true. They
They
really
rarely
do.
do.
It's kind of is like a literal One Punch Man situation. Like you see them once and then that's it.
And then Saitama punches
But-
them and they disintegrate.
Yeah, pretty much. But how about you, Sinris?
I started JoJo's It's funny, before starting it, I actually had a lot of the same misconceptions as Smurf did. Not about them being in hell. That one never got me, but...
But you see what I'm saying, though.
The one you said
'cause
that
the
really...
sky's red.
Yeah. I get it,
okay.
I guess. I feel like that's a big leap, but I see
It's
where
a
you're
leap,
coming
for sure.
from.
Well, the funny
But
part about
I
Smurf's misconceptions are they aren't misconceptions. JoJo is hell. It is like I forget what your other ones were, but they like
I knew
they
it. I
completely
knew a JoJo
fit.
in high school, and I didn't really like him that much. That's not a
Like-
misconception.
Well, nobody here likes JoJo, actually.
No one likes JoJo. Sorry about that. What were you saying?
But the one about, like, what you thought Dio's deal was going to be, how he would, like, pop up, and that was like his catchphrase or something, and then run away, and that would happen all the time. I totally assumed that was what the show was
Yeah.
like. Which I guess wouldn't be out of character for the show, even if it's not accurate. It easily could be.
Right.
But I started it a few months into my deep anime hole, which I'm still digging.
Yep.
Always
same.
digging.
And I had kind of a mixed experience with the anime. I thought part 1 was really fucking bad. I looking back, I said some really stupid things about the series after like watching part 1 about how bad it was. But then I went on to part 2. Part 2 was really good. I enjoyed that. Then I watched part 3. Part 3 fucking blows. I hate part 3. Like
Attack on Smith.
So how are you a fan of JoJo exactly?
Well, here's the thing. It comes back to your rewatch again because while I was mostly miserable watching part 3, I did enjoy like the last quarter
Right.
of it.
It's perfection.
Oh,
The last
yeah.
quarter is perfection.
Yeah, I think that's top tier.
And then when I finished that, I noticed that you guys were on like partway through part 2 in your rewatch.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I didn't participate in the rewatch, but I went into the channel to like follow along and
Right.
everything. And that was when I was like actually fully inducted into the JoJo meme lifestyle. And it grabbed me by the toes and pulled me down screaming into
Right,
the
because you
wall.
turned around in the alleyway. Yeah, I get it.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Ooh.
I was almost out, and you pulled me back in. But then part 4 aired, and I watched that airing, and I was so infuriated with how bad JoJo's fans are, like
Oh
spoiling
my god,
everything.
it's
Whenever
the
I tried
worst.
to
I
like
feel
the worst.
that.
lashing out at me whenever I posted anything that wasn't just like meme praise in the comment section and everything. I was so furious about them ruining my JoJo experience that I decided to become what I hated most and started reading the manga so that source readers could never do that to me again.
Yeah, I think I kind of did that
that's
too.
a very-
I think I started it.
That's a really interesting experience you have with JoJo there. I feel like you just hate it.
No, but then I actually really like it. Part 4 is excellent. Part 4, like, 100% got me on board with JoJo's, and then I enjoyed the manga, different parts to different degrees,
Right.
of course. But after Part 4, I was totally on the
All right.
train.
I feel
The
like
love train.
weird in that
Right?
Yes.
but long train home. I feel like weird in that I feel like I don't have strong opinions about the JoJo parts until part 5. Like even
Whoa.
part 1, I was like, oh, this is fine, but it's like I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was great. Then I thought part 2 was great. Like I still had a lot of fun with part 3, even though it wasn't like my favorite compared to the other ones. And then like I still really like part 4, and then I got to part 5 and didn't like that, but that's for later on. But I don't have these strong JoJo opinions until like later on in the series. Like I'm not so like whenever people are like complaining about part 1, I'm just like, you guys are just a bunch of babies. Like this ain't
When I-
shit. Like fuck off.
When I
with
watched
this.
part 1, I gotta admit, JoJo was not a 10 out of 10 to start.
No.
When I watched part 1, I gave it a 7. I was like, yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, it was fine. And then part 9, yeah, I went into the future and skipped ahead, you know.
Oh, wait, do you time leap in here? Holy shit.
Part 2, I would say was a 9, and then part 3 was an 8 for me, and then the second core aired, and the whole second half of the second core, like starting at Darby, was just complete solid 10 out of 10 all the way, and then made me retroactively fall in love with everything before it. And then on a rewatch, and then I was like, do I really love it that much? And then on a rewatch, it was like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do.
I really
yeah,
do.
I do.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's cool. I think JoJo is just like a really cool series because it's really truly one of the most unique experiences out there, like anime, manga, or otherwise. I just think it's such a cool like existence of fiction. Like it's just so cool where you have it somehow manages to be like, I guess what people would call like really stupid fun, but also like pure creativity. Like, you're just gonna find stuff in JoJo that you won't find elsewhere, and I think the structuring of the series really allows for a lot of creativity and changing. So you can have something like, wow, I really hated part 1, that shit sucks, and then, holy shit, part 2 is one of the coolest things ever. Like, this is great.
There's
Like, you can just go from those extremes.
There's a lot of variance
There was
in like every part, really.
There's a Super Eye Patches Wolf on JoJo. Or Super Eye Patches Wolf's video on JoJo. I thought was really good because I thought he explained something that I always kind of knew, but I never knew how to phrase. Which is that I think a lot of the reason part 1 gets so much hate is because it is the beginning, and that's people still not used to JoJo's style. And once you get past that and get into the next part, by that point you're used to it, and then you like it.
I don't know if I agree with
Really?
that, really. Because, like, In retrospect, I do like part 1 now more than I did, but I think that's because I appreciate it as the beginning.
Have you rewatched it?
And like, I have rewatched it, yeah. And how do I put this? Like, seeing how it begins and kicks off everything that comes after is really nostalgic once you've gotten through a few other parts. But in a vacuum, I still don't think it's very good. It has good elements. The first couple episodes are really good. I think the last couple episodes are pretty good. But like the whole bulk of the middle of part 1,
the middle 3
is so slow
are
and
usually
so boring.
It's kind of tough to call it a middle when it's like 3 episodes.
What's the middle 3 though?
Like I'm like, it's 9 episodes to me. I'm like, I don't even know if I could divide it into sections.
You
like,
divide
I
it
get
into
it, but
thirds.
I'm like, I don't know. I can't divide it into
Quick
thirds.
math.
It makes sense when you say that like that, but even knowing it was just 3 episodes, on the rewatch, everything from like after the mansion burns down.
Yeah, like the hormone training
through
and the Tarkus and Bluefoot fight. Yeah, that's usually the part.
Everything, it's like 3 episodes, but that whole part, I just like slamming my head into my desk, just wishing I would go faster so I could get back to like the Dio part, so it would be interesting again.
You know, it's actually kind of funny that you guys say this because Fate messaged me today because his friend had started reading JoJo Part 1 and at first I thought this was a meme. I thought he was joking. He was like, my friend started reading JoJo Part 1 and he was wondering if he could just skip to Part 7.
God.
And I'm like,
Hello?
and at first I'm like, and I was like, lol's your friend. I bet it's just you know, like asking for a friend. Like you just want to skip. He's like, no, my friend legitimately thought this. And I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, I could do my normal thing of be like, well, do you just automatically skip to the end of a movie if you want to get to the good part, or do you watch the whole thing? Like, I was gonna be really sarcastic, because one of my big pet peeves with, like, people asking the JoJo watch order is, like, they have numbers. Like, you count, and then, like, you do 1, then 2, then 3, just, like, when you count. That's my big pet peeve. But I was like, no, you can't go to part 7. Like, you have to, like, take in all the other stuff, because I think it does build off of, like, the other parts. Like, I haven't actually read part 7.
Like, it's weird because people always say, oh,
it's kind of funny.
like, oh, they're standalone stories. You can just skip through. But it's like, they build off each other, like, thematically, but not narratively, really.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I think you just kind of should do it. Like, just because you can skip parts doesn't mean you should. And I don't think you will appreciate it more if you skip them.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, like, so I do think there's some truth to the statement of, like, part 1 makes you, like, lets you understand the series and the style more. But I think for me it's also always been about, I appreciate JoJo as, like, this long-term legacy story of, like, you know, these two people had this fight back in England in the 1890s.
And now there's someone with 4 testicles and there's just a whole bunch of crazy shit going on.
Yeah, look at how far we've evolved as a species in JoJo.
There was, like, some, like, weird, like, rocks trying to get in someone's vagina in today's chapter. It was really strange.
Well, sounds like normal fare, TBH. but like, yeah, so I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that. And
I don't know how you're supposed to follow
it's
that
like
either.
this long-term legacy story of, like, this family having this long-term battle. And I think that's really cool. Like, the Joestar family battle throughout the ages is a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the generational curse.
We can mention, like, part 3 spoilers right now, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, one thing I really like about JoJo is that even as they go, and it's like, I guess, like, slight spoilers for stuff that hasn't happened, but even going forward, it's still about the Joestars versus Dio, even when Dio's already gone. Like, like, Dio's lasting legacy is still haunting the Joestars even going forward. So it's always about the Joestars versus Dio, which I really, really like.
Yeah.
So he's like it's weird to have a consistent villain that's still the consistent villain even when he's dead.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool to see that. It's cool to see the implication throughout the years. Like, it's fun to observe throughout the ages. But I guess, if besides yelling at people to, you know, read and watch every part, don't skip the numbers, like, count and do that, I guess we could go into, like, actually part 1 and, like, the beginning of the beginning. Yeah,
sure. I love part 1 for being, as you say, the beginning. I think of it as the humble beginnings, and I think it's appreciated a lot more as a beginning rather than just a story
as its own thing.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Low-key, I think I think the first episode is low-key one of like
That's,
the
like,
better first episodes.
One of my
I've seen.
favorites, probably top 10 for me.
I always hear that
Yeah.
people hate it. I know,
Well,
I know,
really?
I know a few people who just really, really
Like-
disliked the first episode, but then liked the rest of the
Yeah.
show.
Why don't they like the first episode? Because I'm not just talking part one. I mean like the first episode.
Yeah,
Dio, usually.
I've heard that
reason.
a lot of people don't like Jonathan,
That too.
where his entire character, his entire personality is the good guy.
Yeah, he's just a white knight. Yeah. I mean, I feel that, but I feel like they do so much in the first episode, you know? Like, I mean, they set up the
Yeah,
like
a lot
conflict
happens
really
in
well.
that episode.
What?
A lot happens
It's-
in that episode. now
Yeah,
that I
like
think about
huge
it.
props because they just cover so much grounds. I actually like the first time I saw the episode was in your rewatch, Smurf, but I recently saw it again on Toonami in the dub, which was like pretty decent,
The
but
dub's
I
pretty
didn't.
good. I like it. The dub's better, but the dub's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so I saw it again on Toonami, and I was like, wow, like this episode really has a lot of shit going on. I think they actually kill the dog in
They
the
do.
first
Yep.
episode
They
too,
do,
right?
The very end.
Yeah, so this is my thing. Like, okay, all these people whining about the Steins Gate first episode be sucking, then the JoJo people, like, like things are dying in these first episodes. You guys can't call this shit slow. Like, we got dogs dying. Like, stop complaining. But except if you're complaining about the dog dying, because that's fair. That was pretty fucked.
Press F for Danny.
Danny did nothing wrong. Holy shit.
Poor Danny.
Felt so bad. Yeah, that was like really fucked. I actually like
Yeah.
fuck Dio for that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
How did Dio not get like immediately fucked up after burning his dog alive?
Well, that's actually like the thing I really like about the first episode, and like I think that people who say Jonathan is just White Knight and that's his whole personality are right, but I don't think that really applies to the first episode because he's got this interesting narrative going throughout that whole thing when Dio first shows up in his life, where he's trying to be polite. Dio fucking kills his dog. Dio spits on his shoes. Dio's the worst piece of shit ever. But Jonathan's like trying to keep it together and like be a gentleman throughout the whole thing until eventually he just snaps and tries to beat the shit out of Dio.
Which
And
I
I-
respect and would
yeah.
do the same.
Yeah.
I think that like that narrative and that conflict between the two of them, which I think is entirely within the first episode, right?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
then in the second episode is when they're in college.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
Like-
playing rugby.
That first episode is so tight and so well constructed to like set up the conflict between Dio and not just Jonathan but all of the Joestars for the rest of time.
Yeah, it's
Well,
actually it's pretty
I actually
symbolic.
think that's like that beginning is the most solid writing in the entire series,
Even part 7?
That's high praise.
including part 7. I think that the
Ooh.
writing in the
Yeah.
first episode is better than any of the writing in part 7, and the writing in part 7 is really
But
good.
but the cold.
You must confront what you so you guys need to confront Sinners on this
No,
one where
that's
he
just,
hates part 7. But
if-
he
You have, I mean, when you finish part 7, if you mention the cold, I mean, most people that have read part 7 just kind of sigh.
oof. Okay, I'm excited for part 7. You guys can spoil part 7. Well, actually, no, we're
I'm
not allowed
going,
to.
I'm
not
not
for
going
me,
to
Yeah,
but
spoil
for
part
the
7.
other
I
people.
refuse.
We're probably, yeah. I'd rather
Daga
go.
Kotawaru.
I forgot. I promise I'll read it, guys. I swear. 7's my favorite number. It's in the stars. It'll be the best part. But yeah, I think I really like that first episode because it sets up so much. I don't like the dog dying, but it has to happen. But then, as you said, it's like it's very tightly constructed, and I think it serves as a good hook for this is what the series is about. Like, this is what JoJo is. This is what we're gonna do.
Right.
And then, yeah. And also, I'm not sure if this is the right time or if we can have an entire section just talking about the OPs, but the first 10 seconds of the first OP,
That's the
or
best.
I don't even know if it's 10 seconds, that's like my favorite section of an opening. Like,
Fantastic.
that's the coolest
Love it.
shit. Where they go through all
Pretty
the
much so.
manga
Okay, love it.
JoJo's.
Yeah, the manga panels.
Yeah, that's a 10 out of 10. If you don't like any other part of JoJo, if you watch that, that's a 10 out of 10. If you disagree,
My favorite
you're
part of
wrong.
that. My favorite
That's
part of that is that the Josuke section of that is the pose right before he punches the spaghetti.
That's the Josuke they chose out of all the shots of him in part 4.
Out
is
of like all the
spaghetti
poses.
punching.
It's like he poses. He like points. It's like when he's pointing and is like, "I'm gonna fix that spaghetti." That's the pose they use.
Yeah, I can see it in my head now. He's right.
Like, dude,
God, I forgot about that scene. I'm gonna fix that spaghetti.
And it just destroys the plate. Just
That's peak JoJo. That is JoJo at its absolute finest.
That was one of the first
That's
memes that I saw of it too. I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
what is this spaghetti shit? But yeah, so I guess then, like more Dio shit happens, so to speak. They play rugby and stuff. And I can definitely see the complaints with part 1 because a lot of it is pretty, like, it's pretty weird, but not necessarily in the most fun weird way. Like, it's just kind of like vampire hunting.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Is that
it's like-
accurate?
it's not super weird when. I mean, like thinking back on it, it's definitely not super weird compared to like other stuff that happens.
It's like odd, but not weird.
It's weird enough if you go in not knowing what to expect, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you didn't really see where's this going? Like, he's gonna track down Dio and try and get the mask, but, like, what else?
I remember distinctly I don't remember the vampire's name now, but it's the vampire. They're like going through a tunnel. They've got the horses pulling the cart, and they get ambushed by a vampire,
Jack
and the
the
vampire's
Ripper.
like hiding
Yeah,
inside their
that's Jack
horse.
the Ripper.
That's so weird.
Oh, that's Jack the Ripper, right?
Oh, that's right.
Not the super version though. The regular Jack the Ripper.
right.
Not the Fate version?
Not the Fate version.
Does any other version even exist?
Oh, the
can
other
we
fake
prove
version
that?
exists. Read Strange
They
Fake,
fight
everybody.
Jack the Ripper in Soul Eater, episode 1.
That's true.
Oh, I
Oh,
remember
yeah,
that.
that's true.
So many part 1s, including
There's so many Jack the Rippers in anime.
What is Japan doing? Find more historical figures, but... I mean, this one's actually fitting because they're in London, right?
Yeah. Or they're in
Like,
England.
this is actually
yeah.
the most fitting. JoJo called this shit. But, yeah. So,
the Jack the Ripper ends up hiding inside of their horse, and that's like the first like JoJo fight moment, if you know what I mean. Where it just doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense how the person managed to do the thing that they're doing, and it doesn't even try to
explain
explain
it.
It's like,
in any
how
way.
is he in the horse? And the horse is still alive and running. Yeah, who knows? How did he get in the horse?
I
Who
think
knows?
that's definitely one of the
Very good
best
question.
JoJo things, is, like, they don't try to explain anything, they just make it happen. Like, they're just like, no, we're not gonna fucks with this common sense or, like, any sense of realism. No, we're just gonna have the dude in the horse.
It's-
like, we're
It's an
just going with
interesting
this.
aspect of Araki. It's like an interesting strategy that Araki has that I really appreciate, which is where he just goes, what would be the coolest thing that could happen right now? Someone could pop out of this horse. That's fucking awesome. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, I respect it. I respect that. And, yeah, so I, like, pretty much I guess, like, more shit happens in part 1. But what's one of the biggest standouts is, possibly the best ED insert.
Oh my
in anime
god,
happening.
episode 6's insert.
Mm.
Or
Episode
transition.
6. When they have that, like, you know, at that point, I probably, like, don't really give a shit about anyone at that point. To BH, like, I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't even care about this guy. And then they do the roundabout intro with, like, that self-fulfilling prophecy about, like, how he's about to die. And he's like, yeah, I guess we're just gonna do it. And then roundabout plays. And you're like, yeah, let's fucking go. Let's go fight this thing in this weird sex dungeon. Let's go.
So, back right before part 4, or when would this have been? I think it would have been in September, before my rewatch started.
Yeah.
I went to Rose City Comic Con and I met up with Bacon there. That's the first time I met Bacon.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, you know, like, we're like, oh, we have, like, some time to kill before, like, a panel or whatever. He's like, I have my laptop with JoJo on it. Let's watch JoJo. He's like, because he was like, just starting JoJo. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we found, like, a seat. We sat down. He pulled out his laptop. We had headphones. And we start episode 6. And it starts with, like, you know, Zeppeli doing stuff. And he turns to me. He's like, dude, Zeppeli is, like, my favorite character. He's the coolest
No.
ever. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, okay. And so we're watching.
I'm
That's
pretty
good.
sure that was a Pro ZD video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I saw that Pro D video, I was like, that's literally me watching JoJo with Bacon. So he's like, he's my favorite. We get to the end of episode 6, he's like, you knew, and he was like, yep, yep.
You knew. You betrayed me.
I was just like, oh yeah, he's the best. Yeah, he's great.
He's super cool.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Hope he stays
Nervous
around.
sweating.
Oh shit. Yeah, that was pretty dope. And then of course he does die. Sorry, Bacon.
Literally rip.
But his legacy remains, just like everyone's legacy remains. Yeah. And then I do think, and then I guess also like more shit happens, whatever. But I think it's actually like a very cool and shocking twist to have the end of the part happen because Jonathan dies.
I absolutely love that. I fucking love Jonathan's death.
Like, he straight up dies. Did any of you guys see that coming? Like, he just dies.
No.
No, nobody ever saw
I saw so many people
in the history
in
of
my
JoJo.
rewatch, in the rewatch that's being hosted by Polly right now on the subreddit, which he's doing a good job with that rewatch. I approve. So many comments I see people like, wait, how JoJo's dead? We still have like 100 episodes left. It's like, yeah, you do.
Like, what are we gonna do?
Yep.
Holy shit. And then it always gets interesting because, like, later on, you're like, yeah, there's a new JoJo. And then, you know, like, if you get to part 1, people will just, like, automatically assume that, like, the next JoJo is going to die.
And part 2 does the fake out. They have the 1945 Joseph Joestar has died. And then it's like, oh, he died? Yeah, of course. Everyone's like, oh, they're just going to kill off every JoJo.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And then he shows
duh.
up to his funeral. And he's like, hey, guys, who died? And they're like, what? You did.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
And then, not going to spoil any of the manga parts, but none of the other parts that have been animated yet have had the main character
Right.
die.
The parts that have animated have not killed him. Well, Jotaro, I guess, technically died when he stopped his heart to trick Dio.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have the sign that, you know, like, they didn't have the funeral. It doesn't
true.
count. If you don't have the funeral and you don't show up to your funeral,
Did
you
you
don't
really
have
die?
mention of your funeral, you ain't dead.
But yeah, you're right.
But
No other
do think-
Joestar in the anime has died. Well, I guess Joseph died in part 3 and then came back again.
No.
Yeah, Joseph just won't die. Joseph is just eternal.
Joseph
And he
Never
pretended to
died.
be
Joseph will never
possessed
die.
by Dio.
That was pretty good. Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I have like a whole I have a lot to say about Joseph. I'm hype. But so then like I think though the big like impact though is like we're always on our toes in case a Joestar is gonna die. Like Jonathan has set the tone that a Joestar can die at any moment, like a main character can die at any moment.
And I think
Who knows if they'll stay
definitely
dead,
does a good
but,
job
like,
setting the tone that any
Anyone
supporting
can die.
character can die too. Like you literally like a lot
Anyone
of people
can
ask for recommendations of shows though, like, oh, what's a show that no one's safe, you know? And I'm always like,
Yeah.
Even afraid
JoJo.
to
Like it
kill.
has to be like JoJo. Nobody's safe in
No
JoJo.
one is
Anybody
safe.
can die. Most people do die.
yeah.
There
And I
is a
think
tradition now that once you get into like the last quarter of the show,
everyone dies.
like main characters are gonna start dropping like flies.
Pretty much.
yeah.
It's pretty much
And it's kind of interesting because I think a lot of times because you see it a lot of times when people are complaining about Battle Shonen, they're like, I don't like how everyone dies and then or no one dies and then like the power of friendship saves everyone. Like what's a show that doesn't have this? And you're like, oh look, JoJo, this silly series about memes where all these people die and most of the time they do stay
And
dead.
I also like
Most.
JoJo a lot for not like a lot of people criticize, and kind of rightfully so, like DBZ and Naruto and Bleach, and you know for all that for power creep, where everything's getting more and more.
Yeah.
Like in Dragon Ball Z, if they start out fighting, like they fight King Piccolo in Dragon Ball. And they're like, he's like the strongest fighter of all time. And then you get to DBZ, and it's like, it's Vegeta, the strongest fighter of all time. And then Frieza's the strongest fighter of all time.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you could keep going and
Yeah.
going and going. And a lot of people criticize that. I mean, from like a writing standpoint, it's kind of like shitty writing, but it's fun to watch the stakes get higher and higher. So like, you know, it's fine. But I like that JoJo
Yeah.
avoids that entirely by just resetting basically all the time.
Yeah,
You're
that's
always
another
starting
advantage of
back
the
at-
part system.
Wherever your new character, wherever you want to put him on that scale, and then all the villains around them can match that scale without having it be like too. Because they never say that Dio's like the strongest being ever. He's just the strongest being ever for
'cause
Jotaro.
essentially, and a lot of that comes down to I think the power system works well. Both of them works really well to kind of ground all of the fights because they're not getting more often than not. They're not really getting like huge power ups per the situation.
Right.
Like they just either have these Hammond abilities that like are pretty consistent, or they have their stands and their stands have their limitations, and it's more about how they use that.
Which is my favorite thing in JoJo, easily.
It's so good.
Like, it's a reason. I know a lot of people hate on part 3, and I get it. You know, it's episodic. A lot of the episodes don't really do a whole lot for the story. But my absolute favorite thing in most anime is seeing a ton of unique abilities, like unique to specific people, and how all those abilities interact with each other. So every time I'm watching part 3, like every episode, I'm like, I cannot wait to see what the next stand is, and how Star Platinum, Magician's Red, Hierophant Green, and all of them will, like, how their powers will, like, interact with each other to lead to the Crusaders winning. I'm like, I just can't wait. I have to see that immediately. And I would just keep hitting the next button.
But that's weird for me to hear, because what I don't like about part 3 is that, yes, it brings in stands which are more creative than Hamon, but like 90% of the stands in part 3 are really boring.
Oh, you mean the ones that have the power to punch, and this one has the power of fire, and this one has the power of a sword.
Yes. Right. And then you get to part 4, and the crazy creative level
Just skyrockets.
ramps up
yeah,
ridiculously.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exponentially.
But I do think
But
it's interesting because,
the
like, the
fights in part
foundation...
3
Oh,
are-
go ahead.
I was just going to repeat myself that the fights in part 3 are just really dull.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean,
Except for that last stretch.
Yes, except the last stretch.
I
Except
always
but
feel, I
that's-
think that the last core, like starting with Darby and going forward, I think that's when it hits like peak masterpiece. Like this is JoJo.
Peak JoJo.
And that's my favorite stretch of the whole series, which is why that's my favorite Mal entry, even though part 3 is not my favorite part. But I feel like right when the second half starts, season 2 of Stardust Crusader starts, that's when the stands just suddenly gets so much better at that point. I don't know how it lines up that way, but it's like that season, the beginning of that season, with Geb and the introduction of Iggy, that's when everything's just like, this is what stands can do. This is amazing.
It was because he ran out. He ran out of tarot cards, so he had to go to Egyptian gods.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. But yeah, Iggy low-key a bro. But
I saw a great JoJo joke once that was... You know how at the beginning of part 3, Avdol helps Jotaro name his stand and like holds out
the card. Yeah.
The deck of tarot cards is like, pick one and that will be your stand. And in this comic, like, Jotaro reaches out and is like, oh, the magician. Avdol says, wait, no, that was mine. And he just like goes through the deck and they have to like throw out the entire deck until they get to the only card left that's not taken.
That's amazing. I love that.
wait, if his thing is Star Platinum,
It's the star.
The star.
just the star?
Yeah.
They just call him the star.
Well, he's
Star
platinum.
sounds better.
Star Platinum
Okay.
is platinum. Like Hierophant
Okay.
Green
Okay,
is the
this sounds-
Hierophant, and it's green.
Oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm getting this mixed up with Persona stuff, but mostly I'm just being retarded.
I mean, they're basically
Anyway.
the exact same thing anyway, so it's okay.
Speaking of being retarded, this transitions well into part 2, which is simultaneously,
That's amazing.
which is
Fantastic transition.
and I mean this. Thank you. And I mean retarded in the highest form of compliments. Like, I love part 2 so much, and I think part 2 is a huge turning point. As I told Fate to tell his friend, I said, look, tell your friend he's got to start reading with part 1, but if he doesn't like it by part 2, I don't think the series is for
Episode
him.
15, I think, is usually the point. That's usually the cutoff for me. Which is...
Well, I don't know if he's watching it or reading it, so I just
Yeah,
said,
that's
like,
fair.
the part in general. But I wanted to... But yeah, I think part 2 is, like, the big... I think it's a big turning
the
point
hook.
for people, because...
Part 2's the hook.
That's the hook. And I wanted to point out something that I've never seen people really talk about that I think is, like, actually really creative, masterful writing. And it's somewhere around, like, it's not the introduction of Joseph. I think it's even after the amazing, what is it, the grenade gun thing or
Yeah, that's
whatever?
episode 10.
There's the
The grenade
grenades.
chick.
That's episode 10.
Yeah,
episode
after
11.
that,
Yeah, that's episode
it actually happened. Yeah, it actually happens after that, but it's when that random vampire dude kidnaps this chick.
Ah, yes.
And they're like
Oh,
on a
yeah,
bridge
yeah.
somewhere. And it's like, he's like, yeah, like, if you don't give me whatever, like, I'm gonna kill this chick. And Joseph's like, I don't even know who that is. Why would I save her? Like, I don't give a shit. Who the fuck is that? And it was and it's, like, hysterical, but it's also amazing writing as, like, a contrast to Jonathan at the beginning of part 1, where, like,
Right.
they take that what's her name?
Erina.
I forget.
Erina?
So, like, he saves Erina just because, even though he doesn't know her, because, like, that's his character. He's that white knight, like, chivalrous guy. So he would have saved anyone no matter what.
Exactly, yeah.
Then we see Joseph, who is the complete opposite, and, like, he's not going to save some random person who doesn't know. And
but he'll pretend that he doesn't, just to piss off the person he's fighting.
That's true, but it's a nice way of kind of. I don't actually know if he would have at the beginning.
He
I
did.
don't know.
Well, he
I think
did
that's part of
save
his
her.
growth.
He specifically saved her, but he was saying that to. He was basically saying, "I don't know who that is. I don't care," so that Straits would go, "Oh, well, then there's no point in me holding her hostage anymore." Basically, and just letting her go.
Right.
That was his whole plan. Was for Straits to let her go.
Calls his bluff. Right?
What?
Straits calls his bluff.
Yeah, I think he throws off the bridge or something, and Joseph has to save her.
So he does save her, but he's like,
then she's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you And he's like,
and then he's like trying to smash.
Well, I remember he specifically called her. I think he said, "I don't know who that whore is." And after he saved her, she's like, "Who? What the fuck is your problem? Why would you call me that?"
And he's like, "I saved you."
Pretty much. When you mentioned masterful writing, I thought you were going to mention something from part 2 that I never really get. I never see brought up. It's pretty similar to that. I won't spoil it, obviously, but in Steins Gate, there's that moment at the end I've talked about where there's like the realization of Okabe of what he has to do, and I had the same realization at the same time, and it was like this amazing.
Oh. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Really
when
early
is
in
that
part
in
2, they mention they totally spoil Lisa's identity without actually spoiling it.
Oh.
Where they tell you at the very beginning of part 2, in the first episode, Smokey mentions that Joseph's mom was the girl from the boat. And then later on, Lisa mentions that she's the girl from the boat. But they still don't tell you that she's his mom, and most people don't pick up on that at all until they actually explicitly say it in like the second to last episode. And everyone goes,
"Wow, I'm mad.
Holy shit, I can't believe that she's his mom." And I'm like, yeah, they told you that in the first episode.
Maybe if we all recognized it in the first episode, then like JoJo would be our favorite anime.
Maybe.
Where I'm not like literally not smart enough. For
I see that a lot in like when people are watching it for the first time, because I stalk the non-airing threads for people that are watching JoJo.
They
and I usually
notice...
ask people about it. I've never seen anybody pick up on it.
Damn.
That's amazing. I'm gonna rewatch it and see if I pick up on it.
Well, you know it.
Well, now I'm gonna look out for it now. Now I know what to look out for. But it's a really cool. Yeah, I think it's a really cool part. I think we all like it, right?
Part 2. Everybody likes part 2.
I mean,
If you don't like part 2, I don't like you. Bam! It rhymes.
Part 2 is a little weird in retrospect because, like, as much as you shouldn't, you actually could skip it and not miss any of the like overarching story. Because the Pillarmen have nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Unless theme, though, right?
unless you subscribe to the theory that Mikitaka in part 4 is actually Cars.
I do like this theory. Yeah.
Wait, which
Mikitaka?
The guy I am an alien.
The guy who says he's an alien. There's a theory that he's actually Cars who got amnesia and then landed back on Earth.
Because he can transform into anything.
Yeah, literally anything.
Like Cars.
Oh my god! I've never heard this. Holy shit! Oh my god! That's amazing. Yo, JoJo fans of this shit. Yeah, holy shit. Oh my god, that's amazing. A fun theory. Oh my god. So, okay, that's got to happen now. I got to believe this. But yeah, it's interesting because I think I'd say part 2 and part 4 are two of the only parts where they don't have a Dio like being as the antagonist or like a Dio related.
2 and 4,
being.
You said? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And so then you have like Cars and the Pillarmen, which is like they got the best theme. That
I disagree.
That shit's lit.
Okay.
Well, she actually also.
This is a safe zone. For we're safe zone. No hating on the Ayas. Don't do that. The Pillarmen didn't die.
It's fantastic, but it's not the best.
Yeah. Shout out to Takuya Saki.
Oh no, I don't think it's the best theme. I just think it's a good theme. I was speaking in hyperbole. until I can get to part 4. But
Yeah,
I
then
like,
we're going to power creep, the new best theme.
yeah,
Noble
see,
Pope.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna DBZ the best theme of JoJo. No, I think it's like a really great, like, iconic.
Oh yeah, and it's
theme,
super memeable, like with the little
It's
wave
so memeable.
remix.
Yeah, the turn down
Oh,
for
I
what?
actually have
It's the
the
best.
I have that on my iPhone. I have like a playlist of weeb songs, and somehow I don't have the original theme, but I just have the
Turned down
I'm
for
looking
what
it up
Turn
right
version?
now.
down for Wamu.
Turn down
For
for
Wemu,
Wemu.
yeah,
Like I
Wemu.
have that version. Yeah, I have that on my phone
If
right
anyone
now,
has,
and I
if
listen
anyone
to
hasn't
that.
heard that, I highly suggest you look it up.
Yeah, I
Wamo
might
is low key one of the best.
Loki,
Oh, hell
Wamu
yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
great.
Might actually be like 3rd or 4th favorite for me.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about him? Because I like him, but I don't have a lot to say.
He's loyal. He's another example of Araki totally forgetting a power and not doing anything with it.
Wait, which power?
The thing
The
about where
wind
he hates
one?
people stepping in his shadow.
Oh, that one.
Oh yeah.
It happens the very first time he shows up when AC/DC steps in his shadow. He just kicks AC/DC in the face out of reflex, and then it's
Yeah, I did
never
forget
brought
that.
up again.
Same.
That's classic,
Classic Araki.
Yeah.
Good old,
Gotta love the guy.
Forgetting his own
good old
characters.
Starfinger.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
when I played Eyes of Heaven, you can like on the character upgrade trees for Jotaro, I just maxed out Starfinger and didn't level anything else.
I don't even remember what that.
It's
power
when
He
is.
uses it
his
against,
fingers
uh,
extend. He used it against strength.
Yeah.
So
Oh no,
Joe-
he used
his
it against.
stand
He used it
fingers
against
could-
It's not
Dark Blue Moon.
Dark Blue Moon, yeah.
And then the
In the water.
anime added an original section of him using it against strength to help fix Araki's mistake.
Wow, what bros?
Oh, David's
Oh.
David's adaptation is
David Pro.
incredible. They added the birthmark to Joseph and Jonathan, which wasn't there in the manga.
They're
They added the arrow, the
Yeah.
bow and arrow from part 4 on Dio's wall at the end of part 3, so you can actually see that there because that's how he got it.
that's
But
Yeah.
obviously, it wasn't there in
that's
the manga
awesome.
yet. They fixed so much. They fixed so many of Araki's mistakes.
Get somebody
in
who
part 3,
loves
do
you
you,
like
do
they
you
love
ever see
JoJo.
Dio like writing his diary?
I don't think so.
I don't remember.
I think the
seeing that.
diary is
Okay.
I think the diary is from prior to part 3.
Okay.
Like,
oh yeah, so like
yeah,
before the
I
chronologically,
think he
events.
wrote it
yeah.
before
Okay.
Jotaro came and kicked his ass.
Oh, okay, that would make sense. But yeah, the David Pro doing a great job. I like. Is Wambu the one who gets into like the
Yes.
chariot race
Yes.
with Joseph? That's such a
That's
such a
dope
legit fight.
Yeah.
Excellent fight.
Both of his
That's
fights are
legit.
great because he has the Caesar fight too, which is
Excellent.
amazing.
Yeah, so he gets to fight.
That's such a good.
I
fight,
love
too.
that fight so
What
much.
do you guys
And then-
think? I see a lot of people who love Caesar, and I like Caesar, but I'm not like super over the moon about him.
Okay, so I have a weird opinion about Caesar. There's no
Okay.
reason for me to really like him, but he's like one of my favorite JoJo characters. Like top 4 or 5
Yeah.
probably.
Okay,
I
I feel
fucking
that.
love Caesar.
I feel
It's the
like-
first character I played as when I got Eyes of Heaven. I was like, I'm playing as Caesar. I'm going to
Ooh.
team up with Joseph, and I'm going to beat up on the Pillarmen. And there's
Nice.
there's really no reason for me to like him. I like the bubbles. I guess they're a really interesting power.
bubbles are cool.
I love his character design.
His design's nut.
And
So
It's
good.
very
His
nice.
his design is.
I
so
love
good.
the feathers in his hair. It's great. It's amazing. I don't know why.
I think I'd have to put Caesar as my 3rd favorite Jobro.
Actually,
After,
same.
after Gyro, obviously.
After
Tyrone Bruno for
Gyro
me.
is number 2 for me, and number 1 is. Why can I not remember his name?
Bruno.
I
What
love
part
him
is he in?
so much. The manga writer.
Oh, Rohan.
Oh, Rohan. Rohan.
Is
Rohan,
Rohan
yes, of
really a
course.
Joe bro when he goes around calling Josuke a
Well,
piece of shit?
Well, it depends on your definition of a Jobro. He doesn't
I
get
feel you.
along with JoJo himself,
Jobro-
but he does get along with other members of.
He's a bro.
Team
Yeah, I
JoJo.
feel that.
A,
Yeah.
I
a
feel
Joe
that.
Bro, or Bro Joe, depending on who you talk to, is usually
Yeah.
the main supporting character. So like Okuyasu.
Okay.
So it would be
Oh,
like
okay.
Bruno.
It's a Zeppio. Normally
it
a
would be
Zeppio,
like
right?
Baron
Zeppeli.
Zeppeli, Caesar,
Zeppeli.
Kakyoin, Okuyasu, Bruno, Hermes, Gyro, and Yasuo.
Gyro. Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So there's
So,
only
but you
there's
could
only
say-
one Jobro per part.
I mean,
Pretty
depending
much.
on,
That does make
that's how I
sense.
look at it. I look at it as
Same.
being 1 per part, but I mean, you could call it however you want. There's no like strict definition, really.
Okay.
Because I feel like that makes sense, but then you also can have like side
yeah.
characters. Like it makes sense. Yeah.
Like Koichi
So-
is like that close to being a JoJo.
Oh, I guess Koichi. Yeah,
so-
I guess Koichi may be Okuyasu.
I feel like he's
yeah,
a
I
Joe
think
bro.
Koichi's like almost the main character of part 4.
Yeah.
I love our favorite, like, what about, you get the Joe bros, but then you have, like, the real MC characters, like,
Bruno?
you get,
Polnareff.
Polnareff.
Polnareff,
yeah.
Toilet
boy.
Adventures.
Polnareff.
Bruno.
Oh, Bruno.
Bruno is the best secret main character.
I love Bruno.
But I also like, yeah, I like Bruno too. Okay, I just love all these JoJo characters.
so
like,
good.
you lose track of it. Yeah. So I like, yeah, part 2. I wanted to, yes, still kind of talking about part 2.
We're
Caesar's
just all
death.
over the place.
We are. I'm gonna like, I don't even know how I'll tag this. I'll be like, we just talk about JoJo in this part. Like, just
We're
watch
as all
yourself.
over the place as a Rocky's
Check
writing.
yourself. Yeah, we're gonna forget about a part just like he will. But he,
Damn.
yeah, I think, yeah, part 2 was just like super hype. I think you guys will correct me on this. I feel like it's the most like JoJo essence part. Like it just feels like the personification of JoJo, and that they have like all these intense fight scenes that are emotional and like they kind of don't make sense at times, but like you're 100% in on it. And I think this is like capitalized when it's the last fight against,
Oh God.
I think it was Cars.
Yeah, it's Cars.
When he's on the,
The Rock.
The Rock flying up.
He's
Sono
on the
Chino
rock.
Sadame
Oh
is
my
blaring in
goodness.
the background. It's the hypest shit ever.
Yeah.
Sano Chino Sadome. It's like going like
And his hand,
hype.
his
And
hand
then-
catches Cars in the neck.
The hand comes
His
out of
hand-
nowhere.
yeah.
Oh my
His
God.
hand catches his throat, and there's the line like and Cars is like, "Did you see this coming?" And he's like, "Yep, planned it from the start." And then he's just thinking to himself like, "No, like I had no idea this would happen, but that's gonna really piss him off." And I'm
That's
like,
the best.
yes. I was like, that's like one of my
That's
favorite
like
quotes.
that's
of all
like the
time.
moment of part 2, which
Yeah.
is
That's
which
the
is
moment.
like very high praise, because a lot of part 2 you can say that about.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many moments that could just like be the JoJo moment, but that one is like, that just sticks to me so strongly as like someone who's constantly bullshitting stuff all the time just to get reactions out of people. And I'm like, Joseph is true, like almost the one true husbando material. He's almost there. Glad I didn't decide on that at the time in retrospect.
Feels bad.
But super feels bad, but he's super bae. He's great. Joseph is a great
And there's some
protagonist.
nice theories surrounding Joseph I like they're really sweet. There's the one, a lot of people wonder why he's so much older in part 3 all of a sudden, when Hamon is supposed to keep you young. Because Lisa is 50, and she does not look 50 at all. But the theory that I really like is that Joseph stopped practicing Hamon so that he would grow old with Suzy Q. Excellent.
Very cute.
I like that too, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I like that though in this moment. Yeah, I think that's super cute. Like when he shows up at his funeral, that's cute. That was funny. That was just
You
dang.
didn't tell anybody?
But yeah, I think you didn't tell anyone I'm alive. Like, can you believe like he's with Suzy Q and she just like forgot to tell his family he's not dead?
Yeah,
that awkward
I can
moment.
understand Joseph forgetting to tell people he's not dead, but like Suzy Q has no excuse.
Yeah, she's like Italian and can barely speak English, but she really should know. Like, she should know to tell them.
You'd think so.
You would
I
think.
think.
Yeah.
A slight miscalculation on their part.
Uh,
A slight
I wanted to
overstep.
mention it because I think we're about done with part 2. But when you transitioned into it,
Until we
when
go
you
back to
transitioned
it.
into it by saying, like speaking of being retarded, reminds me of
Yeah.
one of my favorite JoJo memes where it's that like rage rage comic or whatever, where it's Joseph and the Pillarman and Joseph's like, hee, I'm retarded. They're like, fuck off, retard. And he's like, joke's on them. I was just pretending.
Totally pretending.
Oh, I love that one. But it's like they actually... Your next line is, I was only pretending to be retarded. That's a top tier meme. That's like one of the most applicable memes. Like, you don't even need to know JoJo, like, to use that meme. Like, I've just seen it
There's like
everywhere.
a normal like non-JoJo version, and then there's the version where they like add like the bandanas and stuff to make it JoJo.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's so, yeah, because you have the one screenshot of him too, where he's just like, he's in like full JoJo pose, and then it's just you thought like, what's it? Your next line is, "I was only pretending to be retarded."
It's great. Joseph's the best.
That's great.
Yeah. Part 2 also has the best posing of the series.
Well,
yeah, I feel like it has very
there's that
extreme
one.
pose.
There's that one Polnareff one in part 3, but
The one
yeah,
that
that's
literally
iconic.
defies physics. There's also the one where Shoko Nakagawa broke her pelvis trying to replicate it.
Yeah, that's what part 5
It is.
I'm excited to get to that.
Wait, who tried to
I'm
do
the
it?
singer of Gurren Lagann Sophie.
Oh, she tried to do it, and she like
She
actually
tried to
got
do
hurt.
it on stage at a concert and broke her hip.
She's a huge JoJo fan.
Yeah.
Her.
I saw that. Yeah, she did a good cover of the first.
She has an
opening.
amazing interview with Araki where she tells Araki that her dream is to marry Jotaro and have him spit in her face.
And she's dressed as
And
Jotaro.
he's like, "What
know,
the
I
fuck
was
is
the-
happening?"
She really wants to be in an abusive relationship with Jotaro. That's like her dream.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was like bad saying like I would. What was it? I think I said like some weird shit about like some anime guy could step on me and I'd say thanks, but like this is a new level. Like telling the creator while dressed as Jotaro that you want to be spit on by Jotaro is like new level. Like, and the best part is like Araki, like I'm sure everyone knows, but like he's probably like late 50s at this point, maybe later. He looks like 30.
He's a vampire.
Like he looks 30.
Yeah.
He is a vampire.
The
He's like
manga is
harvesting
literally the
memes.
story of Araki. It's his life.
Yeah, do you think he's actually Dio
The
whole
whole
time?
time.
Like he's been Dio the whole time, and it's just his autobiography.
He thought it was Araki,
about
but
how
it
he
was
killed
me,
some
yeah.
dog and some like random Japanese dude tried to fuck on him. Like, well, I guess, yeah. So that's wait, I guess Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan's not Japanese anyway.
He
That's,
just
I don't know
keeps
how.
trying to kill this one family, but they just keep coming back.
That's why he ends up eventually. Oh, I can't spoil that. That would be
Don't
too
spoil
much.
anything.
Anyway, I'll move on to part 3, which is like a pretty big. Part 3 is like a huge change, and I think it gets interesting reactions. I feel like a lot of the part 3 complaints are kind of like overstated because I watched part 3 like one episode a day in
Yep.
your rewatch,
Yep.
Smurf. Like I was like very like I don't think I didn't like it as much as part 2, but I still had a lot of fun with it on a day-to-day basis because I think even JoJo at its worst is still a lot of fun. But I mean, it's a huge shift. It's a lot longer. It's 2 cores.
it's 4
2
cores,
24 4 cores, yeah. And then you get stands now, and you go from Joseph to Jotaro, which is a very interesting
Bad
shift.
change.
Hey, Jotaro.
It's-
I'm trying to be
Jotaro
wholesome.
best JoJo.
It's a big change.
Just saying, if I had to watch part 3, one episode a day for over a month and a half, I would literally die.
Oh no.
Oh no. See, okay, I did not die though, but I think it was interesting because I think some people agree with this. I like Jotaro, but I think he's better as a non-JoJo than
Yeah,
he is
that's
as
like
a
the
JoJo.
thing about Jotaro. He's better in like supporting roles than he is as a JoJo.
Oh, it's like a mentor
yeah,
too.
and it's
I really like him in parts 4 and 6.
yeah, same.
I have
And the like
I have the
2 seconds
sole
apart.
dissenting opinion that I've never heard anybody else say where I like him more in part 3.
Okay, I think no, I have heard
just-
that. I think I know
just
a lot.
love Jotaro.
There are a lot of people who do
being
like
the
him.
biggest badass and not giving a fuck about anything. That's my favorite thing. My when they're fighting Geb, and the dune buggies like being like slowly eaten by Geb,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's hanging for their lives. Jotaro has he's hanging by one hand with the other hand in his pocket. He's like, I don't give a shit
That is
about
pretty
this.
dang.
Like, he's like, I'll be making it out of here, and I don't give a fuck. He's amazing.
It is interesting when you do look at the like the progression. You got like the traditional hero, like the white knight chivalrous guy in part 1. Then you have more of the like counterculture, like shit talking wise guy
yeah,
who's
like
still
the
not
hot-headed protagonist kind of.
like the hot-headed like guns blazing, but like not like hot-headed as you put it, but still not that air of like necessary coolness. More of like sarcasm and wisecrackingness. I'm just throwing out adjectives.
He's a trickster.
Yeah, the trickster. And then you get to part 3, and it's like, you get that delinquent, I don't give a shit, I'm gonna call my mom a bitch and still beat up the bad guys vibe. And it's like, and as I've heard before that, I think Araki based him
Clint
off
Eastwood.
of,
Clint
like,
Eastwood.
Wild...
Clint Eastwood,
Yeah.
There is a picture at some exhibit or whatever, Clint Eastwood was there, met Araki, and did the Jotaro pose. And it's the coolest picture.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, I gotta
I'll
see
find
that.
it. If you remind me to find it, we can put it in the video.
Okay, I'm gonna remind you. But I think it's a cool thing to have where you have, you know, he's both modern and in that at the time he was kind of that like, what is it, like that 80s delinquent feeling?
Yeah.
But he's also feels kind of classic because he is based off Clint Eastwood in these like old-fashioned Western movies. So I think that gives him a lot of, I think that makes him the icon that he is, because I think Jotaro is the most
he's like,
iconic JoJo.
Yeah,
Easily.
in Japan,
Easily
I
the most
think
iconic.
he's like,
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah,
love Part 3 in
'cause I think
Japan, too.
Yeah, because I think Part 3 is like the biggest part in Japan.
Yes.
It's either 3 or 5.
So, and it's
one of
actually
those.
interesting
Ironic.
about that. There was a poll at a JoJo art exhibit really recently that was asking people what their favorite parts and characters and all that were. I'd always heard that Part 4 was like one of the least favorite in Japan, but the poll actually put it second.
Oh, good. They
Their
got some
top
taste.
three. Their top three
Good
was
job.
3, 4, and 5.
Nice.
Interesting.
And then I think
Where was
Respect.
Seven?
I think it was 4th. Maybe I don't remember. I remember the top 3 pretty well.
Does Japan like 7? Did they recognize that us Westerners have rated it like the second highest manga on Mao?
Probably not, but they probably like it.
Maybe they
I
should
think
learn-
6 just has
Yeah.
the biggest negative reaction to it, mostly because it didn't really fit the shonen demographic. I can't really get into it, but it was a
Feels
little
bad.
too different and should have been seinen earlier. Should have been in a seinen magazine earlier, and I think it kind of hurt it a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
probably
feel that. Feels bad for 6. I love Part 6.
Same.
But
Me too.
yeah,
I think we all do.
Yeah,
I don't,
but-
actually, I don't know about Smith, but...
Yeah, 6.
I think he does.
Well, he loves all of JoJo, but...
I like all of JoJo. Part 1's my least favorite, and it's
Yeah,
still a 10 out of 10. So I like all of it.
It's a 10.
Still a 10.
But yeah, I think so Part 3 has a lot of interesting history behind it. I personally I like
Sha,
Part
can
3.
I interrupt you real quick? There's a little more
Go
I
for
want to
it.
say about Jotaro. So, first off, to get back into fan theories, this is the kind of fan theory that normally I hate. I always think is really stupid, but I think is like weirdly accurate in this case. Is the theory that Jotaro is autistic?
Yeah, I always hear,
Yeah.
you always hear that for characters, and I usually just kind of roll my eyes because people don't know what autistic means.
But it actually fits.
I
really
think it
well
fits.
here.
I don't believe it. I don't subscribe to the theory, but I get it.
I don't think it was
I
intended
understand what
by
people
any
mean
means,
by
Yeah.
it.
but well, I just find it really funny that Araki set out to like create this character who is just like as cool as possible, inspired by Clint Eastwood, and the fan base looked at it and went, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure this guy's autistic."
I wonder if this is like a shifting thing because I think like back when it was written, like I don't think autism was really as well known as it is now, and like the symptoms of which aren't really
Yeah,
as like discussed. So I think like back in the day they're probably just like, this is the ideal man. He's just the coolest motherfucker. He doesn't give a shit, doesn't have emotions, he doesn't care.
He doesn't
like
talk
that
to
singer wants
people.
him to spit on her, and now we're like
and he's like really into dolphins.
so
for some
he has
reason.
autism.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
that's the key. It's nothing else. It's just, wait a minute, he likes dolphins. That we should have seen this. But yeah, that is an interesting fan theory. I didn't actually hear that one. I didn't hear that one before, but I guess it.
I can see it, but I don't think he is. But I mean, I like that. I always appreciate, because there's too often on the internet people use autist as an insult, and I can always appreciate when people actually like know the meaning of autism and are like, I think this guy's autistic, and that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
I can always appreciate that.
When they're trying to use it as like, when they're trying to use it more of like describing their habits and behavior, not saying like it in a derogatory
exactly.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I think one of the big selling parts for Part 3 is I do like the squad fam goals of, you got the cool like cast. I'm in a weird spot because I like Kakyoin the best. No one else does. I love him ever since his fight with that random
I like
baby.
Wait, actually...
That fight with the
think he
baby
might
sold
be
me. Fuck that baby. So he's been my favorite, which made the later parts of Part 3 very tragic for me. But this was the one instance where, like, I get spoiled a decent amount as a mod, but like the only times I get really pissed off at getting spoiled is when I'm like actively watching the series and I'm close to the event being spoiled.
Oh.
And so at the beginning of the second season of part 3, someone on the Hunter x Hunter sub said that Kakyoin dies. And I'm like, these fucking assholes.
And then she removed Hunter
and then
Hunter
I'm
from her
like,
favorites.
yeah, then I give Hunter x Hunter a 1 and said, y'all are the worst. And then I was like sitting there, I'm like, wait a minute, maybe they're wrong. People are retarded all the time.
You know,
maybe
that's
they
fair.
just like... Yeah, I just like tried to convince myself it didn't happen. Like, I was just like...
I definitely have been spoiled on stuff that then didn't actually happen, so it's possible.
Or you
Yeah, I
only
was
get
like,
part of the
the hope
picture.
was
Like
real.
I thought I had Code Geass spoiled for me on a Watch Mojo video, and I was like, well, shit. Now I know that this happens, and then it like half happened, and I had so
Yeah.
much wrong about it in my head, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, the thing was, also in part 3, Advil dies, and then undies.
then dies again.
So I'm like, yo, the same thing. Yeah, and then dies again. But I'm like, wait a minute, it's gonna happen like that. Like, Kakyoin's gonna die, and then he'll come back to life. It's just JoJo things. And then, at the beginning of season 2, like,
Get the
you know
eyes.
how he, like,
Yeah.
gets his eyes? Yeah, so I'm like,
Yeah.
is this when he dies? Is this it? Is this when it happens? And then, like, no, he's
And-
fine. And then he comes back later.
And he comes with the cool
But I'm
fucking
con-
shades, and he just looks so cool.
Yeah.
Shades.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then
he
he
becomes
was
a donut.
fighting one of, and then he becomes a donut. But then he's like but that actually almost kind of made the series more intense for me because I was kind of just like looking out for when Kakyoin would die, like at all times. Like any fight he was in, I'm like, yo, this might be it.
Oh yeah.
This might be when he dies. And then it didn't really happen to the end, which was still sad. But I think part 3 is interesting. I like the road trip aspect. I like Egypt in general. It was kind of cool that they went there, and they have a lot of meme things. Like they have the one weird gorilla thing.
Forever.
I think that was the
Oh,
start
yeah.
of Sriracha before
That
he
was
started
forever. Yeah.
writing Gintama. That was kind of weird. That was weirdly
A really
rapey
weird
almost.
rapey
That was-
orangutan. Pedophile.
So
rape
odd.
is the
Kinda sus.
Yeah.
Uh,
I feel very uncomfortable
you
thinking
mentioned
about
spoiled.
this.
I did actually have all the end of part 3 spoiled for me before I got to it.
Pretty much
Like
same.
everyone dying
So,
and like the events.
so in the discussion threads for it while it was airing, everybody was totally cool about not revealing what Dio's power was until the episode before it's revealed. Literally,
That sounds like a JoJo
literally
fan
one
move.
week before, everyone started posting GIFs.
Ugh.
You know. I think Nas would know like the stick figure one where it's like it shows like what he does to Polnareff on the stairs, where it, like moves him up and down.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Just like the sheer like thought of that, where he like stops time specifically so he can walk down the stairs, put Polnareff like 2 steps down, walk back up and repose. Just like the thought
I
of
love
the
that
thought of him doing that like 3 or 4 times is like low-key my favorite thing in all of part
There's
3.
also the one GIF. There's also like the one GIF where he does like backflips down the stairs and does like front flips to get back up. It's pretty cool. But so I had that spoiled for me the very week before, and then like halfway through the second season, somebody made a thread about JoJo, and they spoiler tagged. They said JoJo spoilers, but then it was end of part 3 stuff, which hadn't finished airing yet. So I'm just like, oh, I'll hover this. I'm caught up on JoJo. I've seen all the anime, and I hover over it, and it's like it just says like something about Iggy, Kakyoin, and Avdol's deaths, and I was like, well, all right, whatever. And then in the threads, I was so I already knew all that, and I'm like, well, that sucks, whatever. And then in the threads, I'm left a comment, and someone PM'd me just saying, well, I think it was when Avdol died. I made a comment like, wow, I got spoiled on his death, but I didn't expect it to be so sudden. And then someone just PM'd me just saying, Iggy and Kakyoin died too.
What the fuck?
And,
Why are people
and I'm like,
like this?
I already
Why
knew
do
that.
you
So
do this?
thanks for being an asshole anyway.
It's like you thought you were being an asshole, but I was already spoiled, so you're just
And
a
then
dumbass.
going forward, I also spoiled for myself on the wiki every single death and plot twist ever in all of JoJo.
Yikes.
You know, some people might frown upon that, but at some point you got to take that into your own hands.
I didn't-
You're getting
I
attacked
didn't
on
mean
all
to.
phases.
I was just like,
Oh, I
I'm
thought you were
curious.
being like, I'm not going to kill me. You're not going to kill
I'm
me.
gonna
I'm
look
going to
up
kill me.
Jotaro on the wiki. Hey, look, a giant spoiler. I'm gonna look up.
I
I'm gonna look
think
up
someone-
a list of stands. Hey, wait a minute. That's not that person's stand. I thought they had it. Oh.
Wikis are the best and
I
the worst
see.
of times, but
Oh.
I feel that.
Also,
But yeah, I think. Go
Yeah,
for
I
it.
was just gonna say, like, you mentioned Avdol's like second death. I just want to say, like, that too is like one of my favorite things of part three because it's like, it's so like out of, like,
Instant.
it's so out of the blue and it's done so quickly. Like, a lot of deaths in the series, like they get dragged out for a really long time, but that's like, he's gone, and it's like, are you serious?
Has anybody?
Yeah.
It's
Really
Have any of you
surprising.
seen the
Yeah.
old part 3 OVAs?
I saw like Sakuboro clips of them. I
So
think.
they
not
changed
seen
the way Avdol dies in
that's
the
a no.
OVAs, and I actually prefer it over the David Pro and manga way, where they make it all the way up to Dio's coffin with the whole party left intact, because they cut out a lot of stuff. They don't have any. They don't have the second Darby or any of that stuff.
So do they cut out Cream, or does he just survive?
He shows up in a little bit. He hasn't shown up yet.
Okay.
So the way they do that particular death is they make it up to Dio's coffin. You might remember when they open the coffin, like Dio was in the coffin, and as they open it, like he freezes time, puts Nukasaku in instead, and leaves. So they open it, and Nukasaku's in there, and they're like, "Holy shit, you were just right next to us, though." In the OVA, he does that to Avdol instead. So they open the coffin, and then suddenly Avdol's there, and they're like, "What the fuck? You were just standing right next to us." And Avdol has no idea what's happening. And then while he's still in the coffin, Cream comes straight down from the ceiling and just eviscerates him.
oh my goodness.
That is so
That
sick.
sounds amazing.
I was
that's
like,
pretty-
"Holy
that's really cool."
fuck!" I'm like, "That was way better than it was in the anime." Like, holy shit!
That's awesome.
It's wild.
Yeah, that's pretty dope actually. I respect that.
And then it's just like his
didn't
arms
do
that.
like
See
left
that
in
now.
the coffin. And it's like, holy fuck!
Because I do like both. But that does sound pretty
really
dope.
cool.
I agree with you. Like, I think so. I'm kind of iffy because I remember Oddvol dying, and it was really shocking because we're like, oh wait, he dies again. But I remember the fight scene. I think was it against Vanilla Ice
Yeah.
where you get Iggy
Iggy and Polnareff.
Iggy and Polnareff fight him.
Yeah.
Polnareff
Yeah.
fight him, and then like Iggy bites the dust, and then like I just remember this one scene after they defeat Vanilla Ice of like the sand is like carrying like the wind is carrying the sand, and it like forms
Yeah.
Advil and like Iggy at first, and I'm like, and it was like really touching. Like it was a really beautiful scene, and I'm like, I'm really not used to describing beautiful and JoJo in the same sentence, especially because like 10 episodes ago, Paul Nuffer was like almost like eating shit, literally. But
He was licking a
like,
toilet.
but yeah, he's almost like he's licking a toilet, and now we have this, and it was just like a really touching scene. So I really
That
love
whole
that
Vanilla
one.
Ice
I
fight,
love that, and
I
I
just
think
love
That's-
because like you already got all of
it's
Iggy's
so
development
good.
during Pet Shop. You understood like his motivations and
Yo,
all that.
okay, Pet Shop though.
Pet Shop.
Pet
though.
Shop is a top tier fight. Holy shit! I never thought I wanted to see a like asshole dog and an asshole bird battle it out underwater.
With sand and ice.
But here we are, with sand and ice, and then they have the description over like how the bird can like retain,
How like air how
oxygen?
oxygen works in birds and why that would let a hawk beat a dog underwater. It's like, why the fuck do you know this, Araki? Like, what is like?
It's like
Araki literally forgets all of his characters, but he remembers that birds can hold oxygen
a lot of
for
JoJo
like.
chapters. I've noticed this reading it and watching it. There's a lot of JoJo chapters where it's just Araki learning something like over the past week, and he's like, I need to tell people this. So he'll write about how a bird can hold his breath underwater. And it's like, that doesn't mean like there was a kind of recent part 8. It's not a spoiler. There's a kind of recent part 8 chapter. Literally, the entire chapter was talking about what parts of a yew tree are poisonous. And it's like, okay,
It's like,
I love Araki.
cool.
in the YouTube video. This is basically JoJo's. Great video, but the best gag in it is like both the protagonist and enemies all have stands, supernatural powers based on facts learned off the back of a snapper.
That's
so
amazing.
funny. That's so true too. Yeah, it's so funny and quirky though, because you could just see him being like, he's writing this weekly manga, and like he gets this one fact. He's like, "Yep, that's gonna be the fight for this week. That's what we're
Yeah.
doing." But I think
He's at his computer. He's stuck. He doesn't know what to do for the next chapter. He just starts googling fun facts.
he's like he sees some news. Like imagine him now with like Twitter and shit. He sees some like weird Twitter thing, and he's just like, "No, yep, that's what the chapter's gonna
Well,
be."
I mean, he kind of just does whatever the hell. There's a stand in part 8 that's just literally GPS. He's like, hey, fuck it, GPS is a stand now. Why not?
When is Siri gonna be a stand?
I mean, Paisley Park's kind of Siri already, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
Paisley Park is basically just serious.
Pretty much.
Have I
No,
gotten
it's
to that part?
No, it's 8.
Okay, cool. It's not me. Nice. Okay. So yeah, I think like part 3 has its weird moments, but I do appreciate like that last stretch. I think are we calling it
I
like
call it the last.
is it Darby,
Darby-
first?
It's,
Darby-
it's from Darby the Gambler
Darby
to the
on,
end.
because it's like I don't know what's after Darby. There's Darby. There's the Whole Horse Boingo.
Pet Shop?
Pet Shop is after
Yeah,
Darby.
it's Darby, Whole Horse, and
Okay.
Boingo.
I low-key hate the Boingo bullshit.
What?
Like I
It's
get
hilarious.
it. But like him and
It's
like
great.
his that ED, it
I
always comes
fucking
up
love
in
that
AMQ.
It's
AMQ.
amazing.
and I get so angry every time.
It's also the best. It's also
I,
the
like,
best
get it, but I,
cliffhanger in
like-
all of JoJo, where Whole Horse has his fingers up Polnareff's nose.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's he gonna do? Oh my god. I heard that Araki was like gonna actually kill Evil and then have Whole Horse
Yeah, I
take
always
his
hear
spot.
that.
But the fans
There's a cover. It's the cover for one of the Justice chapters, which is where they meet
Yeah.
Whole Horse again, and they're fighting Enya Gale. One of the cover has like there's a shot in the part 3 ED or OP where it's like the Crusaders like fall, they land, and then it like cuts to their stands, like all in the same
Yeah.
position as them.
Yeah.
That shot of them falling is a manga cover, but instead of Avdol, it's Whole
Oh.
Horse with them.
Oh,
So that's
Really?
part of the theory
That's
of
really
why that
interesting.
would happen. It also makes sense why. I think he already had a lot of it written out, which makes sense why when Avdol returned, he was like really sassy. Because
Yeah.
that's kind
Yeah.
of how Whole Horse would have been. So I think he had a lot of it written out already, and then he was just like, "Oh, this has to be Avdol now." Okay. And that's also why Avdol does nothing in the second season and then dies.
feels bad.
Well, yeah, I have beef with my like actual because I do like defending part 3, but I do have like some actual beef with it, and it mostly revolves around like they don't have for a group they'd never have like group fights, and like there's only so many times that like Polnareff can like walk off into like the middle of nowhere, and they're like, I wonder what's
Okay,
going
everyone,
on.
we're all
Like,
gonna
that's
meet up in this room so that none of us get attacked on our own. Hey, where's Polnareff? I don't know, he's probably being dumb somewhere.
He's in the He's in
Yeah,
the
like-
bathroom.
Yeah, it's like how many times is he going to be forced to look at toilet before the group realizes that he's getting attacked by the enemies that they know are chasing them? Like how many times? But then like I wish they had more of like the group fighting dynamic. And then I have beef where it felt like Araki could only write like 4 real cast members at a time, which is why he killed off Adol and then like killed off Kakyoin
Goddamn.
kind of in the like he's not going to write about 5 people. But those are my 2 main beefs. I wish they had more group fights, but that's kind of it. It's like also just it's the one problem that I think a lot of people kind of write it off as like JoJo being JoJo, but I think I have a bigger problem with that than something like killing someone off and bringing them back to life, which is like the common sense in universe thing where like, you know, they'd figure out like one of their people are getting attacked.
Yeah.
Like one of those
It's
things.
kind of like
And
even with your bizarre rule, like because you're under attack, you should be like, if it was like the first attack, okay, whatever. But it's like it's not.
Yeah.
You guys should be used to. Or it's like, oh, I wonder what's happening. Oh God, like we're all being magnetized. How could this be? It's like I wonder. It might be a stand. Who knows?
might be a stand-up. Like, yeah.
Isn't it one of those? I don't remember what the effect is called, but where like there's a classic movie line that everybody knows but never actually got said, like "Luke, I am your father." But
Oh,
isn't this must be the work of an enemy stand?
I
one
think
of
it was
those?
in the manga, or maybe it was in a later part.
I feel like I've heard them say it.
Maybe
I
it was
feel
in
like
part,
I've heard them
I-
say
maybe
it.
was
I'm
in
not
part
sure.
4? I don't remember. But I remember I have
I don't-
had some people watch through part 3 and tell me they never said this must be the work of an enemy stand. And it's like, I don't know. I don't tell you. It might be in the
The
manga.
closest
No, I
thing,
feel like it's one
Might
of
be
those
in
the
the
things.
closest thing that I can think of is from the part 3 OVAs, like which is the only clip I've seen from
The
those
Pol-
OVAs.
is it the
when like
Polnareff
when
Wolverine one?
no, it's when Geb comes out of the ground and Jotaro's like, it's an enemy stand. That's like the
Oh.
only thing that
And
I've
it's like the
seen.
worst voice acting ever.
Yeah, the dub clip for that
Yeah,
specifically.
That's another thing that it's like kind of a given, but we haven't really said it, so it might not actually be a given. But JoJo is one of the interesting cases of like top tier voice acting that is like not really what you'd consider typical great voice acting. Because I think a lot of times when people think of great voice acting, they think
Really
of like,
emotional.
oh, they play serious really well, and then they cry a lot. JoJo is like, they're hamming it up, like, with high energy at all times. And I never really, like, I always knew, like, the voice acting was really great and helped make it entertaining. But I saw one of those, like, live voice acting sessions.
Fucking love that.
Where, like, yeah, I love that shit. When you see them, like, actually performing it, you're like, holy shit, I feel so tired just watching them. I have no idea how they could do this.
There's the couple where they're, like, on stage at, like, a concert or something, and they're just, like, live dubbing, like, some, like, the fight. Like,
that's the one.
Like, the Jotaro Kakuen fight. And Kakuen's voice actor is just, like, his face is just moving so much. And it's, like, I love it. It's so fascinating to watch these people do their work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's insane because you never realize, like, just how much energy goes into being a JoJo character. Like, they have to be, like, kind of, like, not screaming, but, like, you know, talking so intensely, like, for how many minutes on end, like, at all times.
I can't remember the...
Especially for Dio, like, Takahito Koyasu.
Oh, yeah.
Like, watching Gintama, like, him playing Takasugi is, like, absolutely nothing like him playing Dio. He's, like, always screaming as Dio. And, I mean, I guess that's also part of how he became, like, so charming, just because he just has that charisma. But, like, he's, like, pretty much always, like, shouting when he plays Dio, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine any other voice as Dio.
Yeah, same.
Okay, I gotta be honest, though.
I can't imagine.
The dub for Dio, Patrick Sates as Dio, is, without a doubt, the... Koyasu's better. Sates is, like, just below him. He's fucking fantastic.
Really? I haven't checked him out. Honestly, I would totally be... I gotta check that out, because I haven't seen that one episode in a while. I wanted to watch the part 2 dub, because I heard that they got number 1 from Kids Next Door to play
Joseph.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
But, like, it's so dank, but as someone who found, like, Joseph really attractive, especially with, like, Sugita's voice, hearing number 1... playing
thinking
Joseph,
of his
like, is really
his
fucking
bald
with
football
me.
head, thinking of that on
Yeah,
Joseph.
it's like, I really feel like my, like, childhood is, like, really fucking with the present. It really discombobulates me, but I think he does a good job, but he just sounds so goofy. I know he should, but still.
He's good. He does a good job.
He does good, but yeah, Dio, like, it's so hard to imagine anyone else as Dio. I can't imagine anyone else as Joseph.
It's like the
Sugita
thing where it's
killing
like I like the dub. The dub's cool. I think like Patrick Sates kills it. Ben Diskin kills it. Johnny Young Bosch as Jonathan is actually pretty good. Keith Silverstein is amazing as Speedwagon. But it's like all of the sub voice actors for all those standout roles are just more standout. It just it's like unfair to the dub. It's like you guys did a fantastic performance. The subs just did a better job though. Like, I'm sorry. Hate to.
And imagine anyone else as like Daisuke Ono as Jotaro. Like, can you imagine? I heard some of it and it sounded decent, but I mean, like Ono just like kills it. Like he is Jotaro. That is him.
It's really funny. I'm a big Matt Mercer fan because I watch Critical Role. But when Fully Coolly Progressive was airing on Adult Swim, it would end and then the dub of JoJo Part 3 would come on right after.
Yeah.
And it would come on, and I was always watching it with a friend. So we'd just be like hanging out, talking about the episode for a bit while that played in the background. And I always kept like one ear kind of on the TV because I wanted to hear Mercer as Jotaro because I had no idea what he sounded like. I only watched like the first 10 minutes of each episode before she turns the TV off. Damn. But I did not hear a single line because Jotaro never talks. I never got to hear him.
That's so funny.
There's a clip. You can find the dub clips
so
of
true,
JoJo Part 3 in particular are kind of hard to find on YouTube, but you can find him fighting Kakuen. I think it's officially uploaded. Maybe. I don't know. But you can find that clip pretty easily. Kakuen's... I don't think they did a very good job with the Part 3 dub.
It's tough to do. It's very tough because it's interesting because I think JoJo falls into one of those categories of being like, it's not what you would think of as like typical anime, so it doesn't feel like every other anime, but it also isn't kind of like out there enough to pass as a normal cartoon if it just had English voices. Because I think some anime could pass as like normal cartoons. Well, Western cartoons. But JoJo is in like that weird in between. Like JoJo's just JoJo. So
yeah, it's weird. Also, I see people asking a lot about like, if JoJo's so popular, and it is the 10th highest selling manga of all time. I learned that recently.
Yeah. No small
feat at all. And it's beaten by, I think, all of the big three and like Detective Conan. Not Detective Conan. I think it's beaten by like Doraemon.
I think Detective Conan's up there.
It's maybe like 15 or something. But that,
it's got over 100
there's
million sales.
There's a lot of
that's a big deal.
Really legendary series around it. But I always hear people like, if it's so legendary in Japan, like how come nobody's copied it yet? Like how is there nothing like it in 30 years? How is it still so unique?
How do you copy it?
It's like you just can't copy it unless you're Diesel, and then
yeah, you can't. But like it's also kind of what's interesting is like it's made up of so many other aspects. Like even just what we were talking about with you got like Japanese delinquent culture. You have Clint Eastwood. You have every classical rock music reference ever. You have
Jolene spoiling the Sixth Sense like, in the manga. She literally tells she literally says the ending of Sixth Sense.
Yo, that's a dick move. Maybe that's
I'll
why
spoil Sixth Sense because
Japan.
it's one of those spoilers that everyone knows. But there's a point where everyone's watching TV, and she walks over and she goes, "Hey, I've seen this movie. Turns out Bruce Willis is dead the whole time." And everyone's like, "What the fuck?"
That's why she's in jail. I forgot. No one...
The joke in the manga is that she's spoiling it to everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's pretty dank actually. But yeah, I think it's like. Well, people keep saying, like, why does no one copy it? Well, you see, like, aspects of it being copied. And, like, you see references to it
Big Order
has
like, stands. And...
No Game, No Life. Persona, the Persona series, they all have stands.
Also, I want to say, Persona 3 is about a bunch of people. The main character isn't really sociable, and they go to fight a guy who thinks he's God. Literally part 3.
Yeah.
Part 4 is about a serial killer in a small town. And part 5 is about a bunch of criminals.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
So part 6 is going to take place in a prison.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I'm calling it now.
Yo, Persona 6, let's go. Let's go. Yeah. It is pretty, I see a lot of similarities between the Persona series and JoJo.
Yes, and then you also see people that are dumb and say, "Oh, why did JoJo take so much from Persona?" And I'm just like, "Fuck you! I want to punch you in the face right now." I literally at them. Normies, get out!
Yeah. That's like so. And then even stuff with something like Kaguya Wants to Be Confessed To. I think a lot of people compare the like style of it to JoJo, even though I don't think it's necessarily like a copy or a direct, like not a direct reference. But a lot of series kind of take the style and atmosphere of JoJo.
A lot of people told me before it aired that Golden Kamuy was the closest thing to JoJo they'd ever seen.
What?
Well,
I don't understand what they mean by that. Like, at first I was like, "Oh, I'm really intrigued to see what they mean," and I watch it and I go, "I don't really get it." It's like kind of similar to Part 7, I guess, but in like tone,
it's got that same like race. It's got that same like race kind of.
And the tone is kind of similar to Part 7 a little bit, but I'm just like. I don't really see how it's like. I don't see how it's like the closest thing to JoJo.
But I think that's also like kind of what we're talking about is like every JoJo part is different from itself. So how do you find something that's the closest thing to JoJo? It also makes it hard to
write or watch this.
Exactly.
I've tried.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know where to start. I'm just like, how do I start to like JoJo's one of the things where people are like, "Oh, what's JoJo about?" And I just go, I don't know.
Think of anything.
What makes JoJo so good?
Memes.
It's like. Can't tell you. I honestly can't tell you. I usually go with like the generic, like it's got super creative abilities, lovable characters, hateable characters that are lovable to be hated, and it has like like comedic, but it's not a comedy,
it has
some surprisingly touching moments, and it has memes.
But speaking of memes, beautiful Duang City comes up. Let's go with part 4. Doing. Yeah, I tried. But so part 4 is kind of another. It's kind of okay. I kind of meme like even part 5, even JoJo parts are like the big ones, like 2, 4, 6, like everyone.
But then 7 kind of throws that up.
7 is now an even number.
My favorite. It isn't. Yeah, 7 my favorite even number. But a lot of times I feel like the most praise comes around the even parts, and like specifically part 4, I had heard a lot of big stuff from it. Specifically used to Smurf and
I
was
hyped
like,
it up a
"This is
lot
your
before it aired.
This is your city."
I wasn't on our anime before it aired, so that couldn't be me.
Yeah, so it's like that's a big deal. I think part 4 is probably I think it's one of the most interesting narrative decisions going from part 3 to part 4, and I think it's one of the most creative things, and I think it's one of the coolest things. I think
Yes.
it's like really, really cool. You guys can talk about how cool it is after I gave it that big thing. Go for it.
Well,
Oh shit.
I think part 4. I think part 4 is really. I think a big thing that a lot of people I think latch on to with part 4, and we mentioned it earlier, is just how creative all the stands are. Like they just really jump up there. Crazy Diamond is so. It's still a punch ghost, but it has its own ability on top of that, where it has like the restoration ability, which is used just so well throughout the entire part. The motorcycle.
The way he uses
during the
it
Speed
is
King fight.
Beautiful.
Or no,
yeah, that's
sorry,
my favorite side fight.
not Speed King.
And
Sorry,
Highway Star,
Star,
yes,
Highway Star.
Holy
absolutely.
Speed King is a different stand, but Yuya Fungami has a tie that says Speed King, so that's why I'm getting confused. Don't worry about it.
Ooh.
Oh.
But anyway, the motorcycle when he jumps over the baby carriage and then puts the motorcycle back together in midair. Fantastic.
And he's like looking at the baby
Excellent.
the whole time too. They
That's
lock
shit.
eyes.
That's so cool.
And he uses it to throw things
think-
back at Kira during their fight at the end. Like keeps like restoring shit that Kira's thrown at him.
Mm-hmm. How he uses like his hand to follow him after sheer heart attack.
It's like prime creativity. I think it's also interesting. Like, I think it's such a cool idea to go from like this world adventure to a small town. Like,
Yeah, that's actually like my favorite thing about part 4 in general is like how the whole thing just feels like super close to home.
And
it's not like
it's
this
even like if
big
Josuke
world-saving
had
fly or
failed
anything. It's
outside of Morio, nothing changes.
nothing changes.
yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it.
Which unfortunately makes it again
would've thought of
one
that.
of those parts people are like,
Well, even-
you can skip part 4. It's not important to the plot.
Well, actually, when you kind of think about it, him succeeding does change things because Kira's been murdering for like 15 years now. So like, I don't know. It's just like super cool to see it all like happen, like just entirely localized in this one place, and like you can see all the recurring characters like coming back and everything. Not that they do anything, but
Well,
it's
a
cool
couple-
And
to see,
sometimes
like,
they don't even
oh,
recur,
yeah.
like Tonio.
Oh yeah,
Or Shigechi, because he didn't get a chance. Rip
No,
Shigechi.
it feels bad.
feels bad.
But I think it's interesting too when you think about like just thinking about the title JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, you got that idea of like different types of bizarreness. And I mean, up until this point we've seen vampires, Aztec vampires,
Aztec gods of
um,
fitness.
ancient gods of fitness. We got like that weird
Rapey.
orangutan
Rapey
thing, like everything that
orangutans.
happened on the way to Egypt. But this is like part 4 is about like the everyday bizarreness we find
Like-
in our small towns, like the
Like
everyday
rats that melt people.
like rats
Everyday
that melt
weirdness.
people. You know, your crazy like Italian restaurant owner helping you by making your stomach hurt.
Kids who suck out your soul by beating you in rock, paper,
Yeah.
scissors.
Yeah,
I hate when Gon just
I
shows
kind
up
of
in my
like
town.
when how drastically everything changes. Like it can be 1 minute Josuke is fighting, he's fighting Angelo, who's trying to murder his mom, and
Yeah.
not the next episode, but a bit later, they're like trying to cheat the lottery. And that's just the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when I think about part 4, like the main things that I
Obviously
think about are like obviously Kira, and then Highway Star, and then like Josuke
Yeah.
and Okuyasu like fucking around.
It's great.
Like,
Or
with the
like
lottery
when they
stuff and
get the
everything.
alien and they're like, let's go cheat Rohan.
Let's
And
go.
then they
Yeah, let's
burn
go
his house
scam
down?
I
Rohan.
like I think and what about like Rohan like stabbing his hand because he's pissed that Josuke is beating him? He's like, "You're such a fucking dumbass.
That
I'm gonna
moment
punish
gave
myself."
me a heart attack when I
Cuts
first
off
saw
his
it because
finger.
I thought he had
Yeah, that
stabbed
was-
the dice.
Oh.
Oh
And
yeah.
I thought he had just like fucking cut Mikitaka in half.
There's a thing I really love.
Oh my God.
I'm sure you guys seen the pictures where it's like, have you ever been so mad that Like, you hit someone with a cactus or whatever. I love the one where it's like, have you ever
Yeah.
been so mad that you stabbed yourself in the hand and set your house on fire?
I love that. It's so cool. It's so many like crazy stuff, because I think in like part 3 we get used to the idea of like, you know, you kill this random stand user and you're never gonna see them again. But now that random stand user is Rohan, and he lives a couple streets down from you, and he's got tons of money, so you're gonna gamble his money away with your newfound alien friend. Like, that kind of stuff of like, you constantly see these characters over and over again, and I think it's part of what makes the part 4 cast so impressive is like, they're all there, they're not going away, and it's also like, you can't kill these people because like, you go to school with them, you live down the street from them, like, they're business owners. Like, that kind of aspect makes it a lot more interesting to see how are they going to come out of their problems when they fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, you get like Kira, who is like one of the best antagonists in
He's
anime.
fucking
like,
amazing. He is
top
incredible.
tier.
Just his motivate, like, a friend of mine's watching through it right now, so it's really interesting to hear his thoughts as he's going through it. But I love how they introduce Kira from his perspective. They give him a whole episode to himself.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's amazing. I think they gave him 2 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they do that. Well, funny enough,
It's like an episode and a half, because I think it like leads into the
Yeah.
Shigechi stuff.
funny
but
enough,
yeah.
don't they actually start the part 4 manga
That's
with the like?
the anime.
With the
The
hand,
anime
yeah.
does. That's original.
Yeah, the anime did. That wasn't. Yeah, that
Oh, yeah,
wasn't
I
in the
meant
manga.
the
anime.
The
They
anime
started
starts
off
with
with
this one.
the
Like the
hand.
very first scene is that.
I started the anime, and I was like,
I love
let's
that
see
they
this.
did that
oh,
so
this
much.
is a cool song. Okay, someone's making breakfast. It's probably Josuke's mom is making
Morning.
breakfast for Josuke. And then it pans out to just the hand. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck. I was like, oh my god.
No fucking
I
way.
really went- I love David. David is the best thing that God's ever given to this earth. We don't
I
deserve
like how
David.
it's so cool. David Bro Pro. I want to
David
call them that
GoPro?
because they're being real bros, but no Bro Pro. That doesn't sound as good. I'll say GoPro.
David Production.
Yeah, they just like, it's so interesting to see. You know, you get the like 2 levels of interactions of like, you know, the studio is adapting it 1-to-1, or they're doing like they're not doing it 1-to-1. They're
doing the
adding
most.
filler, or they're adding stuff. Then you get David Productions, and they just take it to that next level. They're like, this is the manga, this is what the fans want to see, and this is what we're gonna do to make it the anime.
What I love
equivalent.
about David is that it's very clear that they just love, they themselves just love JoJo. And they're like, we're just going to make JoJo the best JoJo can be. Like, I think
Exactly.
it's the animation director. He just posts,
Yeah.
like, JoJo fan art all the time on Pixiv. Or on maybe on his Twitter.
Which is
He
awesome.
just posts it all the time. Like, when Part 4 was airing, literally every week he had a fan art for that episode. It's like, he just loves JoJo.
Yeah,
And so you have
that's
it in those people's
a-
hands, and it's just amazing.
and I think that kind of that passion, I feel like, is very rare to come by. Like, we're watching all these different, like, we're all watching like airing anime at some point, and we see some things we like getting adapted, and we just see it doesn't get the love and respect
Right.
it deserves. And then we see
We've
David
all been
Productions.
feels bad.
What?
all been there.
We've all felt
Yeah.
those feels.
Yeah. Like, you have David Pro, who goes so far as to animate 50 fucking episodes of Captain Tsubasa, just so they can show it on the TV when they animate Part 5.
Okay, like
I love it.
I'm gonna be really disappointed if they don't use actual Captain Tsubasa footage.
They will.
They have to.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
have to. They gotta
can,
know.
I mean, I'm sure they legally
They
can
got
too,
to.
right? Because it's their stuff. It's like their anime.
Yeah, it's their
Probably.
their
It's
license.
theirs
yeah.
now, yeah.
Oh God, I really hope they
Yeah,
do.
so I hope so too, now that you guys have mentioned this. And the fact is, like, half the time that would be a meme, but you guys think, like, there's a chance that they're gonna actually do it. Like, you could see them being the ultimate madmen and actually
Like I remember
doing
that whole time, whenever like Part 5 wasn't being announced and more David stuff kept getting announced, and everyone was like, Part 5 died for this." Like, they announced Captain Tsubasa, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's not JoJo," and I'm like, "But Tsubasa is in JoJo. Like, this is all just a ploy. This
But it is JoJo.
It's all a
That's all
plan."
their
And then
plan.
they announced that they're going to do Ensemble Stars, the male idol show.
Technically.
And everyone's like, "This is definitely isn't JoJo," and I'm like, "This is just practice for the dance."
No, that's also JoJo.
It's practice.
all
It's practice for the dance on the boat in Part 5 when they do like the crazy debate. That Ensemble Stars is just
Yeah.
practice for them. Like, we got this. They know what they're doing.
I can imagine you as, like, the always
And now-
sunny guy and, like, the conspiracy
It's all
board,
connected.
and it's just Smurf's face. It's all
all connected.
JoJo. But yeah,
Wait, this means that they're gonna animate their own version of The Sixth Sense when part 6 comes around.
I can't wait to see JoJo Bruce Willis.
Wait, what's that? What? You were dead from the start. Mario, my woes.
Oh yeah,
that one.
you were already dead.
You were already. Bruce Willis was already dead. Oh my god.
All right, I've got a question for everybody. Since part 4 is when we get like the good stands, when stands
Right.
get good, what in your mind makes a good stand? Like, what's the difference between a good stand and some of the other ones that are just
Like
not
Sky
as-
High, which is fucking bullshit and the worst thing that's ever been created.
Yeah.
I thought we just liked that fight. We were just nutting
No,
over
fuck
that.
Sky High. Fuck everything about Sky High, except it's
Sky
it's
High.
part
I'm thinking
6.
of- I'm
it's
thinking
part
of
6, so I
Highway
can't think
Star.
of the details. But the
I'm
fire
thinking
in
of
Sky
Highway
High is
Star.
the only good part of that fight.
I don't even remember
Yeah,
that.
Sky
I'm
High's
looking it up.
really bad.
I will look this up.
I think
Is this
Yeah.
something else?
my favorite part of what I like about Stand is something that it goes back, I think, to if the enemy stand and the main character stand interact, or if it's the main character stand, if it can interact with other stands in a really interesting way, I think it's a good stand. So like,
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a good.
I do read Sky High.
Okay.
I confirm.
I'm trying to think of a good example. I guess it's like a part 6 example. But like I love Stone Free in part 6 because it's all about
Stone Free's
strings,
good.
and you're like, yeah, it's whatever. But she can do so much interesting stuff with it based on who she's fighting. She can be fighting someone that gets rid of gravity. Suddenly you have grappling hooks, or you can be fighting someone that throws stuff at you. Suddenly you can use it like a rubber band and send stuff back. Like, it's just like there's so many different abilities you can use, and so I think a good stand has a lot of interesting potential. It's not something that's just like it punches a lot. Although I do love Star Platinum, but it's not the
feel
most
that.
interesting stand out there.
I think for me, it's probably also just one, how it's used, and two, how it like relates to the user. Like Killer Queen, like I mean, sheer heart attack and bites the dust are fucking insane, but like it's normal.
Killer
attack,
Queen has
like, the
already
bomb.
touched that doorknob.
It's not like that. It's not like that outlandish for the series at this point, I guess. Despite how fucking terrifying it is when you think about it, but like just how like the whole thing like works
It's
so
just so
well
perfect
for
for
Kira as
personality,
a
yeah.
character.
And it has a great design as a stand.
Yeah, the design too is another thing I wanted to mention, and also like Heaven's Door Rohan,
Ooh, yeah.
because like he spends so much time like fabricating, like making his own manga that he literally starts to
I also
fabricate
love
people's
how
lives, and it's just
his stand
fucking
is literally
wild
the
to
main
think
character
about.
of his manga.
Yeah.
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 I think it's got to be pretty much what you guys touched upon about like how the stands interact with people. I think versatility is a big point, because one of my gripes against some of the stands is like as creative as they are, they're a one and
Yeah.
done situation. Like you see them in one fight and then you never see them again because their situation is so like specific for that fight that you can't use it again. But then I think it's like that, and like if they're able to create, like they're able to help create a really fun, interesting fight, but then also how memeable they are and how great of a reference their song name
Right.
is to the real thing. Like you need to have a good song reference. Like Killer Queen is great. We all know what that is.
I literally listened to Killer Queen today at work.
Lovely song.
Work is a JoJo. But yeah, so like a lot of that stuff, like where you can remember, like I know in part 5 we'll get to like Green Day and Oasis. That fight was great, but I also
Oh, man.
remember it because it's named after Green Day and Oasis. Like if it was like some random band, I probably wouldn't remember it. But I think that helps, like kind of. I mean, this is mostly just for memes, but like I think it helps make
Yeah.
them memorable.
For sure.
But I think it's
Yeah.
also like JoJo's in the weird camp of like you got to be as ridiculous over the top as possible, but still kind of be versatile for the series.
Right. Yeah, I think because the way I tend to look at it is a good JoJo fight, not always, but often a good JoJo fight is like a puzzle. Like the enemy stand does something, and if it's allowed to do that thing, then the good guys are going to lose. And they have this set of weird tools that they need to like use to find a way to solve the puzzle.
So JoJo is literally Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yeah, basically. So the best stands to me are the ones that are just like really simple tools, but that can be used in really versatile ways. Like, I think my favorite stand in the series is coming up in part 5, Sticky Fingers, because
Yeah.
its ability,
Yep.
it puts zippers on things. It can go through doors. It can take things off of other things. It can open anything up. That's all it does, is it opens things, and then maybe it can also close them. But there are so many different ways that can be useful, like in a combat situation and also not in a combat situation. That something like, also in part 5, like Sex Pistols. Well,
Literally
cool,
just
because it's just bullets.
Yeah.
But they're bullets that deflect other bullets into other bullets and then into people.
Right.
Yeah, I do like that.
But then on the other side of it, you have Gold Experience, which is just such a nut stand that can do anything it needs to, that it doesn't feel interesting to see it. You get the moments of like, this is so crazy, I can't believe this is happening, but you never get the same feeling of like, oh, that's so
I
clever.
didn't think about that, when it's like, oh, he can just make anything though, but like, okay, whatever.
And that's a big thing that I think helps differentiate something like, is it Crazy Diamond or Shining Diamond? What?
Crazy Diamond.
Crazy Diamond is the real one. Shining Diamond is what they did to avoid
because
copyright.
the song lyric is "Shine on you, Crazy Diamond."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Crazy Diamond is like, that one works so well because, you know, Josuke can fix anything, but he can't fix himself.
I love that. That's
And
such a cool
big
drawback.
thing.
Right.
That's a crucial aspect.
Same.
Then you have Golden Experience, where it's like, let me take this literal piece of shit and replace my hand because it was living at some point. Like, that kind of logic, where it's like, if he can fix himself and fix anyone, then like, kind of what's the point? And I think later on in the series, they have to have that one guy who can like
that starts in
heal
part 4
like,
with Josuke, because like mostly part 3, people are like literally explode. Like when Jotaro beats Kakyoin, he literally explodes into blood. And blood just goes everywhere. And so it's like, how the fuck is he still alive? So like in part 4, he's like, okay, Josuke can heal people. And it's like, that's how everyone survives. So every part has like a healer. It's like, that's how they live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense, but like, because they keep having like more and more ridiculous things happen to them. So at some point, you got to have that guy who's like the healer, so you can like, it makes sense that they go back. But you need to have some level of like not making them broken.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think that's part of why like part 4 is like a great example of one where it's like, you have the really interesting stands, but they never feel too over the top. Like even Kira never feels too over the top. You feel like he has his limits.
And even
bite
the dust.
strong.
A lot of people think it's OP, but like, he doesn't remember what happened. It wipes his memory too.
Yeah, that was okay. Okay, I wanted to say this because it's relevant, but part 4's opening, Great Days, final version, is the best opening. Is the best opening I've seen
and I
in
were
anime.
freaking out. Like when I first met Nas, was like when that part of part 4 was coming up.
Yeah.
Nas and I would message each other, and we were freaking out about it all the time. Like when the full version came out, there's actually a part of the full version where it rewinds. We're like, holy shit, they're actually gonna do it. Like they're actually gonna rewind the OP. We know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like seeing the part of the OP. I think it's like near the end where like Kira like does the click with his thumb, and then we were just like, they better fucking do it right there. Like that better be the moment.
Unfortunately, they didn't do exactly
the fucking madmen.
I thought would have been the best, which I saw on the JoJo subreddit. People were like speculating of,
we're making their own edits.
Oh, yeah, people were speculating, or before the part started, people were speculating of what the OP would be. There was one speculation I really loved, which is where it would start with Kira adjusting his mirror in the tie, or his that's backwards, adjusting his tie in the mirror, and then it would go all the way through. It would have it rewind. It would rewind all the way back, and then have Kira fixing his tie again to end it. I was like, that would be the best. Like that would be amazing. If it started and ended with Kira fixing his tie.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool, especially like given what happens in the story. That would be really fitting. But I do love what we got. I think that's like, it was pretty great days. That was
Are people theorizing yet, like what
pretty
they
cooked.
do for
I don't
part
know.
5? Like, don't say what they are, obviously.
I haven't
Spoilers,
really looked
but-
at the
gonna-
JoJo separate too much.
It's gonna be a
I have
fucking
no idea what they would
50-second
even do
open.
for part 5. Like,
Yeah,
There's
neither
a
do
whole-
I.
I guess they could like. I mean, they could just like skip through it and like
That's
shorten
what I
it.
was thinking. That's what I thought
But
they would do.
otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah.
I did think of that, but maybe that's a good transition. Unless you guys had anything else more to talk about part 4,
don't
we
think
can
I
say
do.
what do we think? What are we speculating on for the part 5 anime before we go into part 5 manga spoilers?
I think that the part 5 anime is going to be miles ahead of the part 5 manga because it's going to actually have a good translation.
Same.
That's a big deal. Big
That
energy.
and I think just like a lot of the fights they're probably gonna like translate just better
think so.
like in anime form. Like some of them, like the perspective is like super
Yeah,
out of
I also
whack
think
in the
I
manga,
think,
so.
and
I
people are
trust
going to be
it'll-
upset by this, but I think what is King Crimson, or It Just Works for King Crimson, I think the dude's going to die. I think the anime is going to do a good job
I
explaining
hope it does. That's such a
I
great
think
never
story.
I
die.
think the anime is going to
Like,
actually
it's-
explain it, though.
But in reality, it's not that hard.
Okay.
That too. In reality, it's like not that hard to get. It's just like it was fucked
I
by
can
bad
go
I
into it a
think
little
they
bit more when we actually get to
But, like-
spoilers. I can kind of explain why the translation was so bad for it. But
We might as well go into that now because I think we speculate the fights will be better and it will come
Okay.
across better. That's pretty much the big
I
thing,
mean, yeah,
right?
pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Do you guys have anything else before we just...
I'm really looking forward to just
Uh,
seeing the group dynamic.
I think
I love
Pretty much
I
same.
think part 5.
They are all so
I think part
funny.
5 has the best ensemble cast of any of the JoJo parts.
Yeah.
Gonna not agree, but I will... I want them to prove me wrong. I feel like I'm the part 5 hater. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't enjoy reading it, and I am very optimistic for the anime. It's one of those... I think it's the most anticipated series I have for next season. So I feel like a hater, but like I don't want to be a hater. Like I want them to convert
Right.
me. and
I think
they
that's
could.
a pretty good mindset to go in, I think.
That's
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. But jumping into why I'm a hater, I guess we'll go into part 5 manga spoilers. So like,
Oh, actually, I just wanted one
sorry,
more thing.
that was mean.
Just I was sad that the VAs for the game weren't retained, but I'm pretty hyped to see some
satisfied
of
with
these,
most.
like what the new ones sound like.
I think that
Yeah.
what is it?
Kensho Ono.
Kensho
Kensho
Ono,
Ono.
who is, for some people may or may not know, he's a Kuroko from Kuroko no Basket. He is actually like a really great pick. I think that he fits the voice perfectly.
Is he
Yeah.
And
Journo?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he works
Yeah.
really well because like Kuroko is like this really like low key kind of dude, like very. Oh, he's also Mugi in Scum's Wish. That dude.
Oh, that dude, yeah.
That dude. I knew you knew that one, but like, you know, the classic role of Mugi in Scum's Wish, everyone knows. But my favorite voice actor is playing Bruno, so Bruno has now become best guy. I'm excited.
He sounds great.
good as him too.
And Deku's
Yeah, he does.
voice actor is playing the Ranchia, which I actually am pretty happy with.
Deku?
Yeah, I think that's really
Deku
good.
is pulling it off.
And you got fucking Suabe playing
Pretty
Abashio.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty perfect voice acting cast. I
Please.
think they're doing well.
Please,
Deku
please,
is gonna
please
nail
keep
it.
Naotoyama as Trish. Please.
Trish is low key my favorite of part 5, but
Alright,
whatever.
now we
Trish is
should get into
Alright,
spoilers. 'cause
yeah,
I
we should
wanna-
probably
get
I
to
wanna mention
talking
this
about-
let's just jump right into it. Okay, so part 5. I guess do I go? Do I start with the negative
I can
Nancy
I
shit,
can
or
talk
do
about the
you guys wanna
translation
go?
for King Crimson. I think a
Go for
big
it.
part of King Crimson translation is that his ability doesn't really have to do with time, but the translator was like, well, Dio could pause time and Kira could rewind time, so obviously we have to have a time power for this guy too. And so they just made up some shit about erasing time, and everyone goes, that doesn't make any sense. What he's
I actually like kind of get it. I don't get I
like-
get it.
There's a really amazing video. I listen to it all the time. It's just one guy screaming about how King Crimson doesn't make any sense. You can pause time and you can rewind time, but you can't erase time. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think is the example that people use is like you have a VHS tape and then like you literally have like you pull out the tape and then you just cut away the clips.
So
Like, that's my
so his
mental
actual
picture of it.
power is he has two stands, or he has a stand and he has a sub ability, kind of like Sheer Heart Attack or Bites to Death. It's a sub ability of Killer Queen.
Yeah.
When his hair, he can look. Does not come across in the manga like at all, unless you really, really look for it. So I think the anime is going to help a lot here too. In the strands of his hair, he can see the future. He can like see what the future will look like in 10 seconds.
Same.
Yeah, Epitaph.
Yeah, that's
lets him see
Epitaph.
10 seconds into the future. No matter what, everybody else will be in those positions in 10 seconds. So, have you ever been like walking down the street and before you know it, you're like a block down? You just weren't thinking, you just like spaced out? That basically happens to everybody. They just kind of space out. They don't react to their surroundings at all. They just go with the flow. But
that's me like at all
Diavolo
times.
has full movement of his own volition during those 10 seconds. He can't attack you during those 10 seconds, but he can set himself up so that as soon as the 10 seconds are over, he'll be like right where you would move to and hit you like right as you come back.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's kind of like, imagine you're fighting a guy and you go to step to the left, and before you know it, he's right there and his fist is already like in your cheek.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. I think this makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen people describe it as like erasing the means but keeping like the ends,
I
kind
can
of.
see that.
Which that kind of also happens in the fight against Metallica.
Yeah,
like when
like
Aerosmith
right?
comes over and he tries to use Diavolo to shield him. He skips the little portion where the bullets would hit him, and they just go right through him and then
It's
go
also
towards
Nero.
fucking what's his
Risotto
name, Nero, I think.
There's also a good, I
Yeah.
think, opposite that doesn't really, or like a good reverse that doesn't really get touched on with the bad translations, where, as you said, King Crimson removes the cause but keeps the effect, where Gold Experience Requiem removes the effect but keeps the cause.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's a cool
Nice.
mirror.
Which is how
Yeah.
he can keep
Okay,
he
I
can
don't
keep
even have a
Diavolo
problem.
suffering forever because he'll never get to
Keep
the
dying.
death effect, but he'll always have the torturing cause basically.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I don't even have problems
Pretty
with
much.
this. I think that makes a lot of sense.
It just doesn't make sense when you read it and it just says King Crimson can erase time and you go, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that's very vague. Like, what is erase time, so to speak. My main problem with this is that the entire plot would actually I think without it, it kind of doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't know why he wouldn't. I don't know why they're set on a mission to bring Trish to him so he can kill her and not just killing her himself.
Or
Like,
why
why
don't they
doesn't he just-
why don't they just have them kill
them?
her?
Why doesn't he just go to Trish? You mean?
Yeah, or why doesn't he have the assassins he ends up sending after the gang after her?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's my main problem.
I'm sure I have a
literally it.
reason for it, but I don't have enough details fresh in my mind to tell you.
I think the thing was he didn't want people to find out he had a daughter because then he knew that people would use it against him.
A
that
big
was the
thing.
main.
A big
that
thing
was a
about
big
Diavolo
thing.
is he's kind of similar to Kira. He wants to be. He doesn't want anybody to know he exists.
Yeah, but then it's kind of
Yeah.
my thing is I get that because I think he wants to do it low key and he doesn't want people to realize that he has a
Right.
daughter, so he wouldn't want to call attention to it. But at the same time, he's already calling attention to it by having people kidnap her and then having people kill her and the people
Well,
who were
I
supposed
don't
to
think-
kidnap her.
I don't think he tells them that she's his daughter. I think he just says, "We need you to take this person who has important information."
Yeah, he
Yeah, I need
doesn't
you to bring
reveal
her-
that. Well, they
like,
know that
you
that's
need-
the boss's daughter.
I think
they know
someone
that.
tells them.
Yeah. What were you saying, Sin?
So he wants Trish dead because he's afraid that if people find out that she's his daughter, they'll be able to use her against him.
Or just
Yeah.
because
That's it,
or
right?
just
Yeah,
because
that's
she
his
knows
thing.
who he is.
Or because
Oh,
no, I
because
think it's because people
because
would
she
use
knows
her
who
against
he
him.
is. Okay, that makes sense.
Who he is, and people
Not
would
even
use
that. No,
her
just
against him.
because
Okay,
he doesn't
never
want
mind.
anybody to know who he is, including his own daughter. So he just has to
Right.
get rid of anybody. He just cleaning up loose ends, basically.
Yeah, so I don't get why he couldn't just send people to go kill them.
Well,
in the
because
first
if
place. That's
they
my
bring
main
her
thing.
to him, then the people that brought her will also know. So then he'll have them all in the same place, and then he can just kill them all at once.
But he could just kill them.
Even though he told none of them to get on the island besides the one escorting her.
You could like do that in different ways by having like them all.
Don't they do that? Don't they send
But
just
I think
Bruno
like
in?
that's
Yeah. And then he tries to
And
kill
then
Bruno,
he does
too,
kill
but-
Bruno, and then Jono brings
But-
him back to life, and then he's a zombie for the rest of the part, which doesn't really make any sense.
that was kind of interesting
Yeah.
in a way.
Well,
you're kind of wondering.
it
'cause you're
actually
like,
it kind of
"Hmm,
does
just
make
zip
sense
together."
because they go over in part 4 that once someone's soul leaves their body, you can't bring him back. Like when Josuke tries to use Crazy Diamond on his dad,
Yeah.
on his stepdad, it kind of makes sense. Giorno
Yeah,
used his gold
yeah,
experience to
yeah.
infuse Bruno's body with life again, but Bruno's soul is already gone. It just turns him into like a zombie.
I wonder if they'll do something with the voice acting. But yeah, that's like my main complaint is that like the actual plot does not make sense when you think about it. Like they don't need to do that.
Yeah.
But if you listen to me, then you don't have a plot. So what are you gonna do? Like there is literally no story if you do it my way. But I think
Yeah.
there was like I was kind of pissed too when they have like this is my favorite, like it's not a meme, but I feel like it's a meme where they have like is it like the sixth guy? Who's the one dude with
Fugo.
purple haze?
Fugo.
Like, how about I
Fucking
read up
leaves.
that like he was supposed to die.
No, so what was going to happen with Fugo is, so you know how Purple Haze is stupidly OP, and Araki he doesn't get on the boat. He's just gone forever. What was going to happen, and I thought this was just a rumor. I recently found out that Araki actually says it in a manga. He actually has it like in a author's notes or whatever. So it's confirmed.
Yeah.
That Fugo was supposed to turn on them right then and there, and Jono would have to kill him. But Araki I think he just had a loss in his life too, and he couldn't bring himself to kill Fugo.
Yeah. He essentially was too sad
Yeah.
to kill him off. And that's what I read. I'm like, this is kind of dank. Like, he just left
And then
him there.
and then he shows up in Purple
like-
Haze Feedback, which takes place after part 5. He has his own.
Yeah,
He has
so
his
it's a
own
light
spin-off
novel, right?
light novel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool. I hope he survives that. But, yeah, I thought that was just kind of dank. That felt like the epitome of, like, kind of like Araki-ness, but not necessarily for the better. Where he literally just changed his mind about this character, and he's like, yep, you're gone now. Like, you were one of the main crew, but now you're done. Now you're done. Just go off in the corner.
Literally had like half a
He
fight.
basically
Like, we're gonna
only
just
fought
leave
men
you
in the mirror,
here.
which, by the way, I am fucking hyped to link that meme to people when we get to it.
With-
Oh,
Which
yeah.
meme?
There's the meme. There's the
Yeah.
meme where
That was a cool
Kakyoin,
fight.
Polnareff is talking when they're fighting in part 3 when they're fighting
Hanged Man.
Hanged Man. Thank you. And he's like in the reflections,
Yeah.
and Polnareff's like he's in the fucking reflections, like he's in the mirrors. And there's a clip from the part 3 OVA dub where Kakyoin goes, Polnareff, you keep saying the world of the mirror and the man in the mirror, but there's no such thing. And then it does a hard cut to the man in the mirror fight from part 5 with Michael Jackson's song playing in the background. It just says, suck it, Kakyoin.
as long as the memes will stay alive and no one gets really spoiled on part 5 too much, then
I
we
think
can all be
the
happy.
King Crimson,
I mean-
It Just Works meme is going to be the casualty.
I hope
Or-
so.
It
That's
just
a
I mean-
bad meme.
Or,
Yeah.
People are just gonna
Hopefully
say
for the
that.
better.
It just works. If someone asks, then they're gonna say it just works. But I think you did describe
It does feel pretty like
Yeah,
deep rooted
pretty
in JoJo memes, but
I feel like you guys explained it well enough. I'm looking forward to the what's the that's fucking weird scene where they pee in the dude's tea and then in Giorno's tea, and then he transforms his tooth
Yeah.
into a jellyfish because that absorbs urine or something. And
it absorbs all liquid.
and so he
I think.
doesn't actually
and
drink
then-
tea, but drink pee, but it looks like he does, and they're all like, "Whoa, this guy's the real deal."
This guy's metal as
But it was
fuck.
just my fucking jellyfish tooth.
I don't
Holy
remember.
shit.
I have
Low key, the scene I'm most looking forward to is, I think is that the first time he meets the gang.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's when they
when
accept
they
him.
meet in the
That's
cafe
when you
for
know
the very-
he's real
yeah.
fam.
But low key, the scene I'm most looking forward to is right after the first fight with Diavolo, when they're discussing their plans, but they're just hanging out at a cafe in Venice. There are so many funny lines in that scene. There's I think this is in that part where Vista just looks around at everybody and he goes so you guys have heard of vegetarians, right? How about that? Isn't that weird?
Is that? I guess
That's
Fugo's
so
already left by
funny.
that point. But
Yeah.
I love
He's
Fugo
been
and
a bit.
Rancia's math tutoring, where like he's like trying to
Yeah.
teach like Naranti. It's like, oh, what's 81 times 79? And Naranti's like, is it like 25? He goes, are you retarded?
And then there's another one in the cafe scene too, where someone just like walks past them, and
Yeah, and they start beating the shit out of him.
they
think
they
he's an
spill,
enemy.
I think it was Narancia's wine on him, and he gets super pissed. So they're like, "Oh, he's mad at us. He must be an enemy." And they just beat the shit out of this random guy.
They have such a good they have such a good dynamic and chemistry between all of them. I love it so much. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see
Absolutely.
it. I think it'll be brought to life, and it's gonna be really fun.
it's so nice going from part 4 where like very few people in part 4 die, like good guys or bad guys.
Well, okay,
The-
some of them
most of
should
the-
die. Like poor
Yeah.
Angelo stuck in a statue for all of eternity.
Yeah, I count
Go,
that as a
Angelo!
death, but like
God.
most of the people they fight, they end up like rehabilitating and turning
Right.
into friends. And then you get to part 5 where the gang they don't do anything but kill shit and eat spaghetti.
Yep.
The donkey reference.
Daily life of Italians. Okay, shout out to Trish. Trish is actually like, I feel like this is one of the big instances where like a JoJo female is like relevant and does shit. Like,
Does she?
She
do shit?
she beats
Yeah, she has
Notorious
her own
B.I.G.
fight.
She has one.
Okay.
friend, that's true.
Which
but she helps. She's
That's
like
like-
support
that
in other
fight's spooky
fights.
as fuck.
She like
I
does,
gotta ask you about Trish. Now,
Okay.
I have argued with Shaw about this, and I'm waiting for the anime to show up to come up so it can prove me right. But do you think that Trish and Mista are a ship? No?
you just
No.
got shit on.
Come on.
No, okay, I like them as a ship. This
They
wasn't
do
even
have.
our fight.
They have like one cute interaction.
There's the
but
whole point.
That
like
a
the
ship
whole
does not make.
They're constantly bickering, and there's the whole part at the end where they get body swapped with each other.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's like
They
a
got
cute
urinated.
moment, but
and when they give back and like Mista's like, do I really smell that bad? And she's like, it's kind of comforting now.
Wait, okay, so this wasn't even our fight, Smurf. Our thing was, you said who was the cutest ship, and I agree that they're a ship, but I was still Rohan Rimi, which you don't like.
No,
But
that's
I don't
fair.
like
said
them
they-
because they're like 15 years
What?
apart from each
you're
other.
both wrong. You're both
What's it?
wrong.
Yeah, you come up with the
What's the
ship.
best
We'll
ship?
see how you do.
Ship is-
The best ship.
It's gonna say like
That's a tough
Kakyo.
Kakyo, no, it's Kakyo and Polly. Come on, please.
His mom,
Yeah.
Oh,
the
no.
mother hunter.
The MILF
I
hunter.
like
Yeah.
Koichi and what's her name?
You like the
Yeah,
younger
Yukako?
ship?
Yukako.
This
I like that ship
this
a
is
lot.
where you're at. You like dude. This at least me and Smurf are somewhat wholesome. You're into like getting tied up by
Yeah,
hair with
anyways,
like. Oh my! I feel that, but
I really love how it starts out and it's like so horrible and he like nearly kills her to keep her away and then she like mellows out a bit and by the end of the part they're like going out again.
They're
I'm-
Very
pretty
wholesome.
very
that time.
realistic. They're wholesome. I don't even dislike them, but I like our ships more. They're
The episode with in part 4 with the God, I can't remember the fucking name. With
Cinderella.
Ayatsuji. with,
Cinderella,
like, her
yeah, that's a
stand
great
When,
episode.
like,
That's so
Cinderella,
good.
yeah, that episode. It was so good.
I know this is
Especially
an
in
unpopular opinion, but Yukiko is my best JoJo girl.
that's not bad. I like
Yukiko isn't even
as
isn't even the best
She's
JoJo
good.
girl in part 4.
Raimi is not a
Raimi
character.
is so
Get out of
good.
here.
She's the best.
Reme is so great. I won't.
But
stand
Jolene
for
is the
this.
real best JoJo
Pun
girl. I think
not
we can all
intended.
agree on that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
Jolene is, and like
Hell yeah.
Foo Fighters and all the people who have yet to come. They're all the real.
I don't know
Gs.
if Fu really counts as a girl, but
Well, she.
but
well, she
now
didn't-
now we're doing part 6 spoilers. So.
We said we
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
do
I don't know
this.
if we should
said
touch
we
on this
wouldn't do
one yet.
this. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
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 Oh well. I mean,
Stick to
I
part
guess.
5.
Yeah. I think I'm excited for part 5. I hope I will
Guys,
be converted based on
Can
the
you
sheer
believe that
interactions.
part 5 starts in 2 weeks?
That's crazy.
2
Damn.
weeks, and hopefully when this is released,
wild to
it should
think
be
about.
I
like
can't
already out. Like,
fucking
we will have
wait.
we will have been watched it. Wait, what's gonna be the ED
Who
song
the
for
hell
part 5?
knows?
Everyone, that's what
Oh no.
you have to say. What
What's
song
on
do
part
you
one?
want?
I can't even.
You guys all have to pick.
Well, when was part 5 being written?
Late
it's like
90s.
in the 90s, I think, late 90s.
All Star. Give me
yeah.
All Star.
All Star. Let's get
We
the
missed it in part
Smash
4.
Mouth.
Bringing it back. Don't call it a comeback.
I think what's it like Gangster's
I don't
Paradise? I saw someone threw that out.
Hell
That's
yeah.
too on
I like
the
that
nose.
idea.
It's never
Too
that
on
on
the
the nose. Because what it is that like the EDs are songs that Araki was like really into around that.
Yeah,
time,
I
right?
believe I've heard that he gave the
Yeah.
studio a list of the songs he listened to while writing each part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it started in 95.
And they just gotta figure
and
out,
went till 99.
Okay, well,
so.
Warner Brothers owns JoJo, so we'll just use some of their music licenses. Figure out what the hell we can use, basically.
Oh, one more question before we wrap it up. What do you think they're going to do with Rolling Stone? Do you think they're just going
Has
to
to
keep
be-
it at the end,
has to
or
be at the
do
end.
something a
Has
little
to
more
be at the
creative
end.
with it?
Has to be at the end.
Yeah, it'll probably be at the end.
I miss what's
Rolling Stone-
again?
It's
It's the
Sleeping
epilogue
Slaves
of
is
part
like
5.
the
It
name of
takes
the
place
chapters,
before
but it's,
Giorno
Oh,
joined
yeah.
the team, and
Yeah.
it talks about it kind of
Oh, yeah.
predicts people's deaths, and so it predicts
Oh,
that
interesting.
Bruno will die against Diablo, but something happens to it and it gets like chipped, which changes.
Oh,
which
I remember
changes
this. That
the
was really
prediction
cool. I really
and
like
says
that.
Bruno will not die against in the Diablo fight. So it totally predicts Giorno keeping Bruno alive. It's a pretty interesting prologue, I thought.
Yeah, I think I remember liking that a lot. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So
yeah.
have to keep
so
it as
I hope
prologue.
they keep that.
The epilogue.
The
sorry.
prologue? Epilogue, yeah, okay.
Let's
Yeah,
spoil
that would
the
be-
entire
that would be
part right at the
getting ahead of
beginning.
ourselves.
oh.
No, that's it. You guys thought part 5 was actually going to be like however many episodes? No, we're just going to have that one.
There was
OVA
the
and then we're
leak,
done.
quote unquote leak on 4chan of which I was like there was like no source to back it up, but it seemed legit to me, which said that it would be 39 episodes, which I fully agree with. It's not that much shorter than part 4.
Yeah.
So 39 episodes sounds perfect.
Mhm.
And it had like the list of episodes of which episode would be what parts, and they had Sleeping Slaves at the end.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
not
cool.
so it's
So
not
I'm cool
confirmed,
with
but it
that. I
was
think it's
leaked, and
good.
it seemed like a legit like I would agree on all of this that they'll because JoJo fans are pretty good about that. They made a prediction.
Yeah.
They made a prediction on exactly what episodes would be what for part 4, and it was almost true. The only parts they got wrong were the parts that David actually swapped. Like they swapped the Kira and the Cinderella. They swapped
Yeah,
Kira
with
and
like Cheap
Cinderella.
Chick and all that.
Mhm.
That way Shigechi doesn't die literally the very next episode.
Wow, they got it right, except for the parts
Except
that
for the
were
parts that were
changed.
changed. Well, I mean, you know.
So they just listed the chapters.
Right. Well, they got the pacing right. For like how many episodes
okay.
each arc would take and all that. The only parts they didn't really get wrong were when they just swapped 2 arcs order, and also what did they call it? I can't remember the name of the section, but it's a section with Enigma, Cheap Trick, and Superfly.
It's like
Yeah, something
July
like that.
15th or something
When
like
they
that.
all
I don't remember
happened
the
back
exact
to back
day.
to back in the manga, but they all happened at the same time in the anime.
This also, I just want to say real quick, one thing that I'm just really excited to see for like no real reason, but it's like one of my favorite parts of part 5 is like when Chariot Requiem first comes out and like everything is just like super dark and everyone starts falling asleep and it's
I
just
can't
like that
wait for that.
ominous
That's gonna be
walk
hyped.
through everything.
And
I'm
then
really
aliens
hyped to see
start,
that
like, people
animated.
start swapping bodies with aliens for no reason.
Oh, I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
It's gonna get weird.
That's-
But I'm hyped for it. I'm hyped for that.
Yeah.
I'm hyped for the panel.
Old
The
Nareth-
panel of Gold Experience Requiem coming out for the first time, which is my favorite panel in all of JoJo. Oh yeah,
Ooh, really?
it's fantastic.
It's a great panel, especially colored.
I want to look that up now. Okay. I'm excited too. This podcast has got me more excited than I was before.
Mr.
In
President.
Coco Jumbo.
fact,
The fucking turtle.
I can't remember. It's,
I'm
I
excited
never
for
remember
the
which
turtle.
one's the turtle. Which one's the stand? Like one of them is Coco Jumbo.
I think,
Coco Jumbo is the turtle.
I think Mr. President is the stand and Coco
I think
Jumbo
you're
is
right.
the
That sounds
turtle.
correct.
Yeah.
I'm hyped. I also can't wait. There's so many. What I like about JoJo, and also dislike about them, is that the fan base spoils everything with memes. But there's also so much stuff there's also so many memes that they don't spoil. Like I can't wait till our anime gets a hold of the Polnareff is now a turtle meme. When he gets stuck,
Yeah, that's like really
He's stuck in the
underrated
body of a
and not
turtle.
mentioned meme.
like, come on.
I hope we can like make more memes from this. I hope we don't rely on the memes of the past, but can like use them to become even more memeable.
Stronger and more terrible than ever before.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking forward to our anime
Yeah,
memes for JoJo. I think it should be fun.
I'm excited. I'll fingers crossed they'll step up.
I think they're gonna. Well, because there's a lot of stuff they did, like the cliffhanger in Enigma, where Josuke like turns the paper around and the gun sticking out of it. And that's where the episode ends. That people memed that up a lot, and that was not a meme from the manga.
It's such a great episode.
So I'm hoping that we get something good. Like I hope there's like a cliffhanger of them all like at the cafe, and then like a shark fin comes out of the tea.
Yeah.
For what was that? Was that Clash?
That was Clash. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Talking
Clash.
Head was the
Which
thing
made
that
him
was
lie.
told.
Like, Naruto, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong. Everything's great. Damn it, that's not what I'm trying to say. That's not a great fight, but I think it'll be funny.
I'm more excited than anything just to see like Oasis animated because
That fight.
a lot of that
such
fight,
a
like when it
good
was
fight.
taking place underground with
Which
Which one
Bruno.
is?
Oasis is the underground one. Green Day is the if you go
I
below
think
the
Green Day is
elevation.
my favorite. I forget Oasis kind of, but like the Green Day one was like really like
Oasis-
mentally fucking with me.
Oasis
in a cool
is
way.
like the one that goes. through the
Oasis
ground
is
and then
literally
comes up and
Swim from Magical Girl Racing Project.
grabs people. Yeah.
Stop ruining my favorite part 5 fight. No.
The best part of that 5
dare
is
you.
the 5-page. I keep missing through the 5-page Muda,
Yeah.
and then ends with Jono reeing.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the best.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the best. Can't wait.
Yeah. I'm really hyped for
that's a
Notorious
meme I can't wait to
B.I.G.
share.
too.
Where it's like, hey, we take the rapper who's known for dying, and we make it so that the user has to die.
Well, that gets a bit dark, but I feel that.
I want to share it so much. Like I keep talking to Nix from the server, and I'm like, there's so much shit I want to tell you about Part 5, but I can't. We need to get to it so I can tell you and laugh about how they have to kill Carnage. I also shared. I can't wait till Carnage is just the most horrible, disfigured monster in the anime.
Oh, he's gonna be so
Looking-
ugly.
Yeah. It's gonna be disgusting.
All right. I think I'm JoJo'd. I think I'm done with JoJo. I think we're
Are
JoJo'd
we
out.
JoJo?
Yeah.
I think. Oh, we didn't even talk about how excellent and amazing the Part 5 OP is going to be. Well,
Because we don't know yet. We don't know what it's gonna be.
Oh, that's
Well, it's
right.
gonna
we
be- it's
know
gonna be
that
by
it's going to be
Coda.
sung by Coda, who did the Part 2 OP. And we know that it's being written by the people
yeah.
who wrote Cruel Angel's thesis.
They're coming back together for the first time since Evangelion to write this opening.
This is gonna be
It's
lit.
going to
The
be
band
the
is
best
back
OP
together,
ever.
boys.
Like,
If there is any anime that could surpass Cruel Angel's thesis as the best opening of all time, it's JoJo. So
and
here,
the best
this
way,
might
how
be
do you
it.
improve the Cruel Angel's thesis? You
I
make it a
can't even
JoJo
say I'm the
OP.
biggest. I'm not even the biggest NGE fan. I can't say I liked the show. It was alright, but the OP is like it's like the best OP ever, right? I mean, like
I'm kind of on I'm actually in the opposite boat where I love NG, but I'm kind of iffy on the OP. Like it's good, but like it's not one of my favorites. But
It's
I
not
would
even-
be
it's-
excited to see them.
You can't
like-
you can't deny how like
it's
iconic
like
it
a
is.
thing where
It's
it's not my
iconic.
favorite, but I accepted this the best.
I respect
It's like how
it.
JoJo's my favorite, but I'll say that Hunter x Hunter is the best battle shonen.
That sounds like a great way to end this. But I know that
Yeah,
sounds toxic.
let's end on that note.
Yeah.
That's
That
another
would
note
be
of me
beyond
saying
toxic.
that JoJo's not the best battle shonen, but it's my favorite. That's what's most important, I think.
That is like also like that's a cool distinction to make too, because I do think like I love JoJo. I like shows more than JoJo, but I do love JoJo is just like a shit ton of fun and it's really unique, and I think everyone should experience it at some point.
Everyone should gold experience it.
There
we go,
They'll
we're
have
done.
a golden experience with it. That's
Hell
how we'll
yeah.
end it. Okay, we're JoJo'd out. Hopefully you guys are watching this after watching part 5. Hopefully you guys found our memes fun and kind of cringy.
Both.
Probably. I don't know.
Well,
At least
both.
on my end. Both.
Yeah,
But
probably
thanks. I'm
both.
glad we got the JoJo meme squad with me. We had a good time. And thanks to everyone for listening in. Have a good day.
Yep, see ya.